Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Another packed one for you guys. Welcome in. We got Sam Flannel. Hands already in the air. He's ready to go. JB in the sound booth holding it down for us. And then, of course, Toledo's finest. The one they call the ball knower, Lucas Klotz, in the TD booth hanging out with us as well. And just to make sure, everyone in the chat too, good morning, welcome in. David, Paul, Ski Mask Boy, John Lord, Justin, Josh, everybody, Eric as well, Steve Brown, and Phil as well. Appreciate you guys for joining the show, man. I'm excited. We got Kool-Aid joining us at 8:30 to talk more Detroit Pistons. If you watched last night, you know what happened. They took another L, so they fall to 2-10. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and we're gonna try and get a little bit of voice of reason. JB's the voice of reason here on the show, but Kool-Aid's the voice of reason for the Detroit Pistons. He'll be joining us at 8:30, but we're going to get into the Bruce Irvin stuff. He just signed on the Detroit Lions practice squad. Yeah, that was the
Giddy up!
That was the splash, huh, fellas?
Hey, at least they're addressing it. At least they're addressing it.
Yes, and I do have some stats at 8:15 to kind of, get some context around Bruce Irvin. And all joking aside, he is going to help out this pass rush. And you get a guy that he's 36 years old. He'll bring you bring him more of a veteran presence. All right, more of a veteran presence. See, I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. I'm trying to be positive here.
You've been asking for help, and there it is.
Help is on the way.
This is fun. And Justin says old man strength. Yeah, that's dad strength. Yeah. We'll see.
Hey, by the way, before we cut you off, those Toledo Rockets last night, I don't know if you saw, it looks like they're going to be heading to Detroit here pretty soon for that MAC championship.
Ooh.
They won the Battle I-75, the rivalry. I told you, have I talked about
they
their
came back and won?
What? Yeah.
Oh my God.
Gritty
I seen
dub.
the halftime score.
Gritty dub.
Yeah, well.
They have a nice quarterback.
Yeah. Wow. Just make sure they get vaccinated before they cross. No, I'm just kidding.
Keep them over there.
I'm kidding. Good for Toledo, man. Good for those people, man. What is it? What's the area code?
The 419.
The 419.
419.
The 419. Yep. You know what? Kudos to them. I know you're happy, Lucas. Toledo's finest. You made it, so I think you inspired some of the other people from Toledo.
Yeah, they beat up on, or they didn't beat up on him, but Bowling Green, the one that gave J.J. McCarthy the second-round pick trouble.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So therefore, Toledo's quarterback is better than J.J. McCarthy. What's that property called? Is it like the transitive or something
his name's like
that?
Derek Finn Jr. or something like that.
Would he throw more than 60 yards on Penn State? What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, would he? Yeah, I'm just asking. That's all I'm doing. I'm just asking. Big M, hey Lucas, Mister, I would like to have the second seed so that the Lions play an extra game.
I'm just saying.
Big M.
I'm not going to be crying over here if they have. I'm going to be overjoyed if they have the first seed. I want the Lions to win the rest of their games that they have. Every game that the Lions have on the schedule, I want them to win. Okay. But if you're asking me, what's a more guaranteed chance at a playoff win? I think it's the 2 seed.
Robert Lane says, Jeff, please bless this man with a corpse comment. Yeah, for people who don't know, every time I refer to a player as the corpse of blank, they play well. So maybe I should call Bruce Irvin a corpse, the corpse of Bruce Irvin, and maybe he starts playing well. There might be a little bit of a curse to that. So there you go, Robert. Hopefully, the Lions get everything they can out of Bruce Irvin at 36, man. Yeah, we'll talk about him at 8:15 though. But first, how we feeling this morning? Sam Flannel, how you doing? I know your birthday was yesterday. Did you do anything fun? I know you're at the Pistons game.
Yeah, I was at the Pistons game for Macomb Community College night. I went to a reception in Heritage Hall before. I felt like one of the big wigs, even though I am certainly most not a big wig. But it was a fun night. But at the end of the day, another L. Another season where they're the worst team in the NBA as of right now.
Yeah, no, there's no lies. There's no lies detected.
So a little bit of a depressing end, but it was an all-around good night, I would say.
Yeah, and Paul Thomas, great show, guys, great sound. Thank you, Paul, for that. Yeah, sound, it should be okay today. But to your point, Sam, I I found myself going on tankathon.com, and I exited out immediately.
Oh, my God.
I found myself looking at I said, where do they? Oh, they have the number 1 overall pick. Click out of it. I can't look at that. No more. We're not getting into mock drafts. We're not doing that.
Oh, God.
We're not doing that.
That even just like pains me to think about.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. No draft talk. All right, let's talk about what they need. No, we're not doing that. If anything, hopefully we'll be talking about who they can go get by the trade deadline.
Zach LaVine.
That should be the conversation. Brandon Ingram, Zach LaVine, and I'll ask Kool-Aid that more so when he gets here, because that is the next step for this team. No more building through the draft. No, it's about going out and getting better. That's what matters here. But JB, I want to ask you how you feeling this morning. How you doing?
I mean, I'm good.
Get a JB check-in.
I'm good, but I'm done betting on the NBA. I can't do it anymore. Like, this is ridiculous. I had a parlay going with Cade in it. 9 points, man. 9 points.
He's just disappointed. He's not even mad. He's just disappointed.
Yeah, he's not mad. He's just disappointed.
Unbelievable.
You know what's funny, JB? Mike, again, I'm cursed, I swear, because I said I was done yesterday. I lied. I put another parlay in. I have a problem. But regardless, Mike sent me a parlay. The only thing I didn't hit, Isaiah Stewart had 1 rebound. He got hurt. So had him at 6.
We're all in tomorrow, though, Jeff. All in tomorrow.
Can
the
you
legacy.
Explain to the people? Explain what we're doing tomorrow.
So tomorrow, me and Jeff, we are putting our FanDuel, our sports betting careers on the line. All or nothing. We'll give you guys the parlay as the line comes out. But for the Ravens-Bengals game, me and Jeff are putting our nuts on the table. We're going all in on a big money one. And if it doesn't hit, we're done. We're cooked. We are cooked. We're not doing it anymore. We're not letting them take any more of our money. And if we hit, you guys are going to make some money with us. That's how we're going to do it. But we'll make sure it's a good slate. We'll get something going for it. We'll do it at 9:40 for what's trending, but it might be a rest and piss moment for me and Jeff.
This is I would call it the last dance parlay. Like, this is like the last dance. Like, me and Lucas we're gonna try and cook with the help of Booner. Booner's gonna a little bit, because Booner, I love you, but for whatever reason, whenever I tail a parlay of Booners, I lose. And I'm gonna blame me, Booner. It's not you, it's me. Which you typically say to a breakup when you know it's their fault. It's not you, it's me. It's me, Booner, 100% not you. But for whatever reason, we lose. So me and Lucas are going to cook a parlay, and then Booner, you're going to give your thoughts on it tomorrow. And then we're going to get the people's thoughts.
Yeah, and definitely.
And if we lose, JB, you can cue the Undertaker music. It's RIP to our FanDuel accounts. And we're done. I'm hanging up the jersey that there.
About to say, don't you have to have dances in order to have a last dance? It seems like you guys are losing a lot, and it's okay. Parlays are hard to hit. I'm not a betting man, but you know, this is where you win it all back. All that pain and heartache ends tomorrow, right?
I've hit a couple parlays. In one of the Pistons, one of their 2 wins, I hit like a $300 parlay when we went to the game, so I was happy about that. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, who play tomorrow, got me like $200 2 weeks ago. So but just besides that, man, like anytime touchdown scores, like live betting, I'll make some cash on. But besides that, it's just like, the fuck are we doing? Like last back-to-back week, Josh Reynolds, 25 yards, had everything hit. Besides that one, and it just and the Lions ones are the ones I put the most money on because it's the team I know best.
Right.
Apparently not.
Apparently not. Vegas knows more than we do.
Yeah, Vegas knows ball.
Elgato says, quit making parlays, straight bets only. Elgato's right, though. Like, my straight bets, I went like 3 for 4 over the weekend. I might stick with just straight bets, but parlays, RIP. We're laying them to rest. We might have a whole session. Maybe we wear black on Friday if we lose. Like, it's just going to
be a funeral for sure.
It's going to be a funeral. Potentially. The Booner Sports Show, I didn't share mine with them yesterday. I hit 2 parlays and went 2-0 in college football. Jeff is cursed. Okay, so Booner's keeping stuff from us now. Okay, interesting. No, I'm
nice.
just kidding.
Yeah.
No, Booner, I don't blame you. I really don't. I just can't win a parlay with Booner, so I think we have to break up there. Sorry.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. It really is. Is it me or is it you? It's probably me. All right, we'll go to break here. We come back. We'll talk about the Bruce Irvin stuff. Let's get into it. And I do have a stat I want to read off. I went into my Sam Flannel bag a little bit. And I want to just compare Bruce Irvin from last year to kind of what the Lions have to work with now with their pass rush. And it's some interesting stuff, guys. You're going to want to tune into this. But first, I do. What do I got? Hamlin Pub?
We got Yeah, Hamlin Pub.
All right, let me tell you about Hamlin Pub, guys, because listen, especially for the Lions game over the weekend, this is the place to be. Hamlin Pub. Every NFL game and Michigan sports, starting at $8. Game day specials. You go there, one of their 7 locations, and experience where everyone's a regular. They got delicious wings. Can't forget about that. You see it in the graphic if you're watching on YouTube. And please go check out Experience, your new favorite pub for all things sports.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle D. Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
We've just received word. The world's cannabis supply has vanished. The public is outraged and has taken to the streets in response to this tragedy. The individual responsible acted alone, and we can only hope they will make things right soon.
Join Woodward Sports and Long Drink live this Sunday for the official Lions VIP tailgate party is at Eastern Market and Shed number 5, and it is going to be a bash starting at 9:30 a.m. until game time. Who has 2 thumbs and is going to be there this weekend? This guy. The official Lions tailgate is back and better than ever. How would you like to pregame with Woodward Sports and be treated like a VIP? Food, beverages, and entertainment all included. Get your tickets online today at bullseyeeventgroup.com or win some from Woodward Sports today. Just subscribe to our YouTube, follow us on IG, and direct message Lions VIP.
Welcome back into the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Thank you guys for tuning in. And let's get into the Bruce Irvin stuff because the Lions just brought in Bruce Irvin, and he's the help the people asked for. It is Bruce Irvin.
Don't fear, Bruce Irvin is here.
Yeah, and all jokes aside, and you look at his career, he has 55.5 career sacks. He's been on a ton of teams, most recently with Seattle, which is the team that originally drafted him. And he had some of his best years with Seattle.
Got a ring.
He did. In 2022, he played 11 games with Seattle and had 3.5 sacks. He actually had a sack in their playoff game against the 49ers, for those who do not know. And this is typically what happens during the season. A veteran who's 36, who's probably looking to join a contender, and the Lions are a team that, can't believe I'm saying it, they're contenders. Yep. They're one of the best teams in their conference, chasing that 1 seed, and they bring in Bruce Irvin. They just bring in another adult in that pass rush room, which I actually like. I like Bruce Irvin. I think he could teach the guys a lot of stuff, and on top of that, you can use him in different situations. He's not a guy that's going to be out there every down. He isn't, but you know what's interesting? And Danny Bennett tweeted this out, so shout out to him. I got to give him credit. He's a good friend of mine. And he put a graphic out, basically listing the quarterback pressures on the Lions so far. And I thought this was super interesting. So Hutchinson clearly leads the Lions in pressures. We know that, but by a lot. Actually, by a landslide. He has 53 quarterback pressures this season. Number 2 is John Kaminsky with 23. Number 3 on the team is Aleem with 21. Charles Harris with 19. Anzalone with 13, Benito Jones with 11, and then Derek Barnes with 10. So that's kind of the top. That's the top 7 in pressures on the Lions. So, like I said, Hutchinson with 53. The next closest is Kaminsky with 23. Bruce Irvin last season, like I said, in 11 games he played. Danny did the math, and he writes here on this tweet, or on X, whatever you want to call it. Bruce Irvin generated a quarterback pressure every 8 snaps. So that's the math on the total amount of snaps he's played. A quarterback pressure every 8 snaps. Now listen to this. John Kaminsky, who has 23 pressures so far in the season, he's generating a quarterback pressure every 9 snaps. So what I'm saying is, at 35 years old, Bruce Irvin last year was a little more efficient getting to the quarterback.
look at that.
And that's by one. Kaminsky's every 9 snaps, he gets a pressure. Bruce Irvin last year was every 8 snaps he gets a pressure. So we can joke about, all the other stuff. He's old. Like, we can joke about that. But in reality, like,
it's help.
It's actually maybe that speaks more to the situation the Lions are in, Sam. But technically, it is help. Well, and you didn't have to give up anything to get him.
I mean, and the reality is if you're going to make a move like this, whether it's impactful or not, time will tell, obviously. It's going to happen after that Chargers game in which the Chargers literally scored a touchdown on their last 5 drives and almost wasted a offensive masterclass. That was not the defense's finest day, and the pass rush didn't really get home. Although Aiden Hutchinson, he actually got some pretty consistent pressure, but still, it was a total team defeat on the defensive side of the ball. Here's the thing. When you're Brad Holmes, when you're in year 3 of what was a rebuild and is definitely not a rebuild, they're contenders now, and you're 7-2 after your first season being 3-13-1 and make a steady climb from that. At this point, and I wasn't quite here even a couple of weeks ago, pretty much every single move that you make, we just have to be like, we trust you. I mean, right? Mm-hmm. At this point, you almost have to. Yeah, they didn't get a bigger name at the trade deadline, but they acquired a Bruce Irvin, and it wouldn't shock me at all if Bruce Irvin maybe makes a play or two in an important spot, and that could be the difference between winning a big game and not. I'm not saying that Bruce Irvin is this flashy signing or anything like that, but he's been a good player in this league. He's obviously not what he once was. He's missed a lot of time these past 3 seasons. Hasn't even played at all this season so far. So we'll just see. We'll give it a spin of the dice or a roll of the dice and see if he has anything left in the tank, because those numbers, when it comes to pressures, when it comes to Aiden Hutchinson versus the rest of the team, are pretty damning when it comes to guys like John Kaminsky and Charles Harris, for example. Ali McNeil has played well, but even with Ali McNeil, I know it's different as an interior defensive lineman as opposed to an edge rusher. Even though Ali McNeil is also having a very good year, even though he only has a half less of a sack than Aiden Hutchinson on the season, there are levels to this. There are levels to the way Aiden Hutchinson is playing versus the rest of this defensive line. And if Bruce Irvin can get pressure more consistently when he's on the field, then John Kaminsky, then Charles Harris, then the Aquara brothers, who neither of them are even on this list, which is kind of in its own part a little bit sad, speaks to their lack of availability, and when they play, a mixed bag to say the best. We'll see. I'm not mad at it. I think it can help. I don't think it's moving too many needles, but it could be the difference in maybe a play in a game, and that might be all the Lions need out of them.
And the other thing, too, and there has to be a corresponding move. I don't know who gets sent back to the practice squad once he's elevated or who gets straight up cut. I don't know. And that's what I'm interested to see, especially on the defensive line. But the other thing is, Lucas, and I know Jason Pierre-Paul already signed with the Saints, but that was kind of the guy I kind of wanted. I'm not going to lie to you.
Like, you're a JPP guy?
With 9 fingers. I would take JPP, I think, at this point. He's 34.
9 nubs.
He had 9 fingers, but hey, he's a little younger. I know he's got a little bit of juice left, but maybe Bruce Irvin could be, somewhat of an upgrade. Who knows? What do you think of the Bruce Irvin sign?
I mean, I'm not jumping like head over heels over it, but it's definitely something that the Lions can need, especially with James Houston being out. He's kind of that speed rush end. That's what not James Houston, but that's what Bruce Irvin is right now, and he's a veteran. So especially in playoff games, this defense especially is lacking a veteran presence on that interior, so he can be that guy in those situations where Hutch is kind of like, all right, what do I need to do here in order to make sure that we clinch this play so we can get out of here with a playoff win? Bruce Irvin can be that guy. When James Houston comes back, James Houston and Bruce Irvin can rotate, so you can have 2 speed rushers off the edge. But I am interested. I know Big V went to IR.
That's the move.
So yeah, that's what. So I don't know if there's going to be like anybody cut, but I don't know. It's not something I'm ecstatic about, but it's definitely something that I'm like, cool. It's an added piece that was in a position of need. So I'm not like hating at it by any means.
Yeah, he's dirt cheap. I mean, he's help to whatever extent you think that is. He is help by the definition. JB, what do you think of Bruce, the signing, and just him overall? Like, I mean, give us a player breakdown of Bruce Irvin for us, JB.
I mean, it's something. I guess the Lions did something, which is, acceptable as of right now, but Bruce Irvin, I'm not super impressed with him right now as it is. This seems like a trend the Lions are following once again by signing these veteran players that are coming to the end of their career right now, i.e. Adrian Peterson. We don't have to bring that back up, but still.
He still got it.
Yeah. I don't know, but
It's kind of like when people wanted Sue. Like people were asking for a veteran. They just maybe didn't think it was Bruce Irvin.
Yeah,
they wanted Sue.
You weren't expecting Bruce Irvin, and I think that the Lions, once he gets, as you said, Jeff, evaluated up to the main roster, he'll be a situational type of player. I guess you'll see. He's like a little less of a James Houston, so he'll be in for like a snap to kind of relieve and give all of these other players, a refreshing timeout for a second, but I don't think this moves the needle for the Lions as much as everyone thinks. So,
and Paul Thomas says Brad always makes a move that makes sense, and people are chiming in about this move too. Super Juggernaut 87. A lot of money is going to be into re-signing these next couple of years. Yes, that is true, by the way. Harley says, Jeff, y'all see that Justin Fields is expected to return versus the Lions. Does that concern you? Now, maybe we'll talk more about that later in the show or tomorrow, because that's actually a good question. I know he's expected to return. It is not Tyson Bagent, the man, Shepherd's finest.
Does that make you a little bit more worried?
No, I do not.
Shepherd's finest?
No. Well, I think
out?
Justin Fields, and it must worry you, because you and these mobile quarterbacks, Josh Dobbs. I mean, so I don't know. You might be a little concerned.
You act like I'm calling for Josh Dobbs to be the second coming of like Kurt Warner or something, where he just revitalizes his career somewhere.
Well, in all seriousness, no, I'm not worried.
You can't revitalize something you never vitalized in the first
Very
place.
true. Good point, Flannel.
Yes.
Good point. Touche.
Well,
I would count that win over the Cowboys as a career.
Fair enough, I guess.
You get that, you get a career with me.
And this is the other good thing about Bruce Irvin. Adiz says he knows the Seattle Seahawks defense. You know what? There you go. If that's the big takeaway, if Bruce Irvin, if he comes here and has nothing left to give, barely anything, at the very minimum, you know what? What do you know about the Seahawks defense? Just give us something. We might face him in the playoffs, so Bruce Irvin could help out there. That's all. Wyatt says Jeff's got to take off the hat and give the people what they want. No, unfortunately today we were sticking with the hat. That's how. Hey, I don't choose
bad hair day.
Hey, it just happens. Like, I just want to wear a hat. What's wrong with that?
No, I was just asking if you had a bad hair day, if that was leading to the decision of the hat. That's all.
Potentially.
Okay.
Potentially.
That's fine.
Daniel says I can see Reynolds' role slowing down when TBJ comes in. Yeah, and we talked about this. I think Reynolds is slowly. And not that they've lost trust in him, but other guys are starting to show up more in the passing game, notably Jahmyr Gibbs, DPJ now being welcome. Jameson's going to be more on the field. Like, I think Josh is kind of turning back into what we probably thought Josh would be at this point. Even though he's a great guy. And they call him Steady Eddie. I get all that. But, yes, I don't think no more Josh 25 yards in our parlays.
Yeah, oh God.
We can agree there. No more Josh Reynolds.
And it's in early on in the season, Josh 25 would be like, smash that over, put your mortgage on it, put your life savings on it. But that's the thing. When he was needed to be a bigger part of this passing offense, he thrived, and maybe his role can decrease a little bit, but I still think he's going to make plenty of big plays for this team the rest of the season, because these last two games notwithstanding, hardly anybody on this entire team made more big plays than Josh Reynolds, save for maybe Amon-Ra St. Brown and maybe Sam Laporta. He was absolutely huge, and I remember it. I remember when he was a big part, so I don't necessarily know if Donovan Peoples-Jones is even better than Josh Reynolds as of right now.
Talent-wise, he definitely is.
Absolutely.
But to your point, Josh Reynolds has been way more productive and consistent this season.
And I don't think the people are liking how we're not hyping up Bruce Irvin. Super Juggernaut 87. Y'all be talking like you're casuals. Irvin isn't a bad pickup. Never said he wasn't a bad pickup.
Said it was a bad pickup.
Yeah, that's what
we said. It was a solid pickup. It's just not one that we're jumping up and down about crazy. Like, oh my God, Bruce Irvin's in Detroit. That's exact Super Bowl. Like, that's not like no. But can Bruce Irvin help us? Absolutely. But we're just not going to be jumping up and down about it. That's okay.
Ant Live Movement says you guys act like we signed a bum. Brad Holmes is smart. He's already eyeing a defender. Yeah, this I told you it would get like this.
Hold on. Just reiterate this for him. So we pulled up this graphic.
Yeah.
And then what were the stats that you said, Jeff?
I just brought up that by the numbers, Bruce Irvin last year had a quarterback pressure every 8 snaps. Kaminsky this year has a quarterback pressure every 9 snaps. I just made the point that he's at 36. He's actually better than most of the guys that are at least getting pressure to the quarterback. But hey, you know what? They don't accept it.
At least we could wrap up the segment like that.
Yeah. Again, it's not that Bruce Irvin is bad. No one's saying that. But what we're saying is, hey, if he has something to give, cool. At the very minimum, he'll be a veteran in the locker room for those guys on the defensive line. He could help teach them. And at the same time, he can maybe alleviate some of the pressure. I mean, if you have guys that maybe aren't living up to expectations, you have a veteran that coaches can count on. So that's all it is. Like, I don't know if Bruce Irvin comes here and is second in the team in sacks, yeah, I will say I was wrong. Like in a half a season, I will say I was wrong. I just don't think that's going to happen. He might give you a couple sacks this year, maybe. It's just more help, and that's all that matters.
Especially in playoff time.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the reality.
Especially in playoff time.
Here's the reality. Many things can be true about Bruce Irvin. As I said, there is definitely a pathway to him being an impactful member of this team, especially considering with James Houston still out, the lack of edge rushing help Aiden Hutchinson has, which by those pressure numbers is pretty damn glaring, I would certainly say. Number 2 is Kaminsky with 23 pressures, and number 3 when it comes to edge rushers is Charles Harris with 19, who's been a healthy scratch at times, and Aiden Hutchinson has 53. Bruce Irvin could be very, very impactful, but his definition of impactful, say he gets 2 sacks the rest of the season and 20 quarterback pressures.
I'm cool with
Yeah,
that. I'm
amazing.
overjoyed with that. Yeah.
That would be amazing, but it also goes to show the scale of signing of Bruce Irvin. We're not expecting much, but if he gives you anything, bravo. And I think he will. I think he can.
Yeah, Derek Lewis is spot on. He says a couple sacks is 100% more than read the most of the D-line. Yeah, I mean... Yeah. That's how we look at it.
If this was Bruce Irvin 5 years ago, I would be jumping up and down.
Sure.
But this is like this is like Shaq when he puts on the Heat jersey or the Celtic jersey. But will you take Shaq on your team? Absolutely.
There's levels to Heat and Celtics, by the way.
And
there is. But you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying.
I'm with CF Collector, and I know you are, Lucas. He says I want Desmond King.
Yeah, I would have liked Desmond King.
There's got to be another corner out there that I'm just worried. If there's an injury to Cam Sutton or Jerry Jacobs, like now we're
knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
Like we're just knock on wood.
You're in some trouble. You're in some trouble.
That, JB,
you're in some trouble. What about this one, Lucas? Super Juggernaut 87. All Irvin has to do is help Hutch get those sacks, but he did say prior to that, besides Lucas, no one liked Laporta until he played. I wouldn't compare Bruce Irvin at 36 to Sam Laporta as a rookie.
I don't think that's what he was doing.
But I get what you're saying. Okay.
Adam was running his mouth about the Stroud take, and I think that's what he was saying. He's like, Lucas can't give any advice about quarterbacks because you had to bring up your boy, Josh Dobbs.
It's not my boy. I told you.
Your boy's Russell Wilson. I forgot about that one.
18 touchdowns.
Robert Lane says you are all discrediting Jeff's mystical powers. Bruce will have at least 6 sacks. Yes, because I refer to him as the corpse of Bruce.
That's true.
I did the reverse curse there. I wasn't actually calling him a corpse, but whatever can help the Lions. That's all that matters. It really is. And again, I've preached about it before. I thought they should have gotten somebody at the deadline. They didn't. I trust the process. We'll see what Brad does in the offseason. I'm not going to freak out about it. If anybody you can bring in to get help, I'm cool with it. I think that's the overall takeaway. No one hates the move, especially for what they're going to pay him. It'll be dirt cheap. You get a vet. Cool. Move on. All right, let's go to break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Kool-Aid. We'll talk more about the Pistons game because we got to get into it. And
it's all right, Jeff. Better days ahead, hopefully. Hopefully.
I hope. It's looking rough, man. It really is. It's looking rough. If you could imagine me after a Pistons game just staring at my ceiling. Or when I watch Pistons games, and I used to make this joke that I'm strapped to a chair with my eyelids open, and that's how I watch Pistons games because I can't leave the screen.
At least Asara got a poster on Capella.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Marvin Bagley, 2010 double-double?
He did. He did.
See, there's some positive there.
No, it's fuck you guys, man. No, I'm kidding. All right, let's go to break. All right, we'll be right back, guys, in a little bit. But first, we got to hear about our friends from Premier Pet.
Of course, when it comes to your pet, don't settle. I don't settle when it comes to my golden retriever, Jake, and my orange cat, Milo. I get them all the best pet food, toys, treats, everything that they need. And you should give your pet the best like I give my pet the best. Premier Pet Supply is hands down Michigan's best pet store. Family owned and operated for over 30 years. 13 Metro Detroit locations, over 60 brands of food, lowest prices, and curbside home delivery. Premier Pet Supply, give your pet the best. Visit their website at premierpetsupply.com.
Calling all landscapers. This is Darren McCarty. I'm at Outdoor Equipment Co. How would you like to landscape like a legend? How about a bad boy zero turn? And even a chainsaw. And even a weed whipper. Whether you landscape for your job or landscape for fun, get all your equipment from Outdoor Equip Co., the official equipment provider of Woodward Sports. Michigan grown, family owned. OutdoorEquipCo.com.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Your home is your most important asset. Flexibility in the sales process is key. When you work with Mark White & Associates, you can cancel at any time, for any reason, without penalty. Speaking of flexibility, check this out. Who you work with matters. Hire the best broker in the game.
How would you like to win a $100K Vegas getaway? Take your friends and live it up in a city that never sleeps. It's the Centron Energy Drink It and Live It sweepstakes. I know, me too.
After watching these Pistons.
After watching these Pistons, yes, indeed. Purchase the 24-pack today. Enter for your chance to win. Register at drinkcentron.com/Vegas and buy Centron at your local Myers store. It's Centron, the healthier energy drink with great taste. Look good, feel great, and be the best version of yourself. Once again, that website, drinkcentron.com/Vegas.
Talking Detroit Pistons with Detroit Kool-Aid. Brandon Dent, beat reporter for the Woodward Sports for the Detroit Pistons, joining the show. Brandon,
yes, sir.
Appreciate you joining. Look at you, man. You look
I think
dapper
it's
this
50
morning.
for the morning Woodward.
Yeah, absolutely. You were there last night. You watched.
That I was.
You talked to the players after. You get the vibe of the team. And this is why I love having you on, because you get a different perspective. You know more than, number one, you know more than anyone at this network by far basketball-wise, but you also know anyone more at this network about the Pistons, because you're there. But I want to ask you, your reaction to last night's game. The Pistons fall to 2-10. They're 1-5 at home. It's not looking pretty. And Cade Cunningham leads the NBA in turnovers. And right now he has 60, and the next closest person is Luka with 50. So it's not great. Can you give more of context to what's going on and just your reaction to last night's game?
Help me! Yeah, it's disappointing. That's the word that I'm going to continue to use. Last week on the We're Pistons podcast, I talked to the people, broke bread with them, because I said, even though, just based on my perspective, the progress of this team is not mutually tied to wins, this is still a year where you could see them dropping some games despite some injuries that they should have. And you want to see them pull these victories out. Have they been a little bit more competitive and they're dropping some of these games down the stretch, even though they're injured? Yes, but they're not dropping these games just because the other team was just flat out better than them during those moments, but because of mistakes that they're making. And these are the things that, as it relates to progression of this season, when you're talking about what you want to see this squad do beyond just wins, you want to see them start to clean this stuff up. Now, it is only 11 games into the season. And so for a young team, you want to see them begin to get some conception of how to clean these things up, how to play stronger down the stretch. And what Monty Williams said after the postgame, how to value each possession. He said he's been stressing this. And in training camp, it all sounds good. But when you hit that hardwood for the regular season, things change. The other teams start turning up their defense. They may have a few more veteran players. But the one thing I know is that this squad is not trying to lose. So they're going to have to figure something out. They are.
And the obvious thing, too, when you look at it, I got to talk to you about this earlier this morning on the phone, and it's an interesting stat. I brought this up on From Half Court, but you look at your opponent's first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter points, what they're doing defensively. It seems like they're allowing more points as the game goes on. Now, that changed yesterday because the Hawks scored 30-something in the third and 30-something in the first, but before – they average right now at this point in time, opponents' first quarter points. They give up 27.6 in the first quarter, 28.3 in the second quarter, 30.2 in the third quarter, and it was 30 in the fourth, but it dropped a little bit. It's 29.2. So the point is, they get worse as the game goes on. Typically, I mean, last night they were pretty bad in the first quarter, but that's how it's been trending. I think the theme of this team is just they can't close games. And a lot of that is because of how teams are defending Cade. Because they're giving Cade respect, and we talked about this. Like, they know who Cade is. And I know last night he was 4 for 14, didn't play well, had some turnovers there, but he had his career high in assists. They know how they're learning how to defend Cade. It's okay. We're going to make all these other guys beat us, not you. Yeah. And it's working out for opposing teams. Yeah, they need somebody else on this roster, and that's more so. I'll ask you a little bit after Sam asks this question about the trade deadline. They got to get another dude that, if they do choose to defend Cade like this, someone else can beat you consistently. Yep. Where there's another threat on the court with him at all times.
That's why, for me personally, and I know that a lot of the people, they don't want to hear this because the Pistons have been losing for dang near 15 years. And so they just see Pistons across the jersey. They don't have to be as patient as Troy Weaver wants to be. They don't have to be as understanding as Tom Gores is trying to be. They don't have to be as, hey, we have to help our young guys learn while we're still trying to win, as Monty Williams is going to be. So I get that. But Troy Weaver did say right after the Asar Thompson draft pick, the draft press conference and the media scrum, that this is the season that they're going to assess. They wanted to do this last year so that they could properly put the right pieces around Cade. But that this season is one in which they want to assess, they want to see what's wrong. And I believe that part of that stressing and pressing that Monty Williams spoke of in the offseason and during training camp of putting his team through, I believe we're starting to see that right now. And what it's doing is like I said, it's not mutually. Their progress is not mutually tied to how many wins they have, but what Troy Weaver is able to see from this squad, from the young core. So now he knows exactly. You can't come back with injured vets. You can't come back with old vets. You do have to get a number 2. The best Cade looked was his rookie season when he had Jeremy Grant, who took a large portion of the usage, or at least an equal amount. And with that usage, he was consistent with it. That's the one key. We got guys right now whose usage and time and minutes are high, and as that continues on, their efficiency goes way down. You can't depend on Killian Hayes to start and play 30-something minutes. Right. You just can't. So they're going to have to get a guy. But this season is all about figuring that out. And early on, I think that they figured that out, especially with the fact that we talked about it, man. These teams that the Pistons have played over like the last 7 or 8 games, they have effectively said, we don't care. It's like that Stephen A. Smith meme, like, I'm here to let you know right now. We don't care. They don't care at all about the rest of his team. Stu was wide open for 3. Missed, I think, 2 or 3 of those. Was wide open. Asar missed 1. I looked at the starters, the box score. And I'll implore all you guys to go and look at that box score. Cade is basically playing 1 on 5. Unless he gets to pick and roll, and even then, the type of defense they're running, if it was even a 2-3 zone that they were running, then you would see a little bit more facilitation or a little bit better facilitation out of Cade Cunningham. But they're doing what's called a soft 2-on-2, like zone, man zone principle, and they're blitzing him off of that. They do not care. They're blitzing hands straight up, and they're obscuring his ability to be able to see. And when he does make the pass, when you want to look at the other stat in terms of turnovers, look at the stat of potential assists as well. There's potential assists that are left out there quarter after quarter after quarter, because even Burks wasn't hitting anything until like literally really like late in that game. When your team doesn't have anybody else that can realistically go out there and give you that 20 to 25 points consistently a game with Cade Cunningham, you're going to see exactly what you saw last night. And the book is out. We all know this. If you go and you run a basic defense on Cade Cunningham, he's eating. That's lunch. I see the skinny butcher up there. That's lunch, bro. That's lunch. I'm just being serious. But they know we do not have to care. We don't have to care. And that's what's going on right now. And Cade has to get less careless. He has to understand that these things are going on. They have to get this right, because you can't let this just fester for the season. Whether that's going out and getting somebody else to assist, or whether that's making sure that this team is coached all the way up and valuing every possession, they have to fix it. This is not something, regardless of wins or not, that they need to allow to kind of grow.
Yeah, Kool-Aid, I apologize for not linking up with you last night, but I was actually in LCA for last night's game, and I will say this, one of my takeaways, and I'm actually going to credit Ku Kahil, who I disagree with on a lot of things on Twitter. He actually tweeted after the game, you can't lose a home game to the Trae Youngless Hawks, and that's kind of where I'm at right there. And now unfortunately, they do have the worst record in the NBA, but let me let me just ask this. When it was at one point in the game, despite every single thing that the Pistons have been struggling with, despite the things they were struggling with last night, when they got that fast break where Cade Cunningham passed it to Kevin Knox and he dunked it to put them ahead by 1 with about a minute left, the building was almost literally shaking. I'm like, oh my goodness, we're going to win this game. But alas, they did not. I think this is the type of game, unfortunately, that can be the difference between a team that can win 30 games and a team that, just in terms of wins and losses, kind of death spirals again. Am I putting too much into this game or no?
You're putting a lot into this game. I would start to raise the panic alarms if the team was healthy in doing this, but they're not. Jalen Duren wasn't there last night, and that's a huge loss. We can't on one hand sit and say, man, we love Jalen Duren, he's the future, and then when he's out, act as if that's not a big piece missing. What if it was Marvin Bagley coming off the bench instead of maybe a Wiseman or some of the other players that they had to rotate in there? These are reasons that they must fix, or else they do become excuses. But these are legitimate reasons. DeJounte Murray, I'm not dissing that guy. That guy's just a walking bucket, straight up. He was out there and he put up 32 points. And you know what? I'll ask you guys this question. They shouldn't lose to the Trae Youngless Hawks. But let's just be for real. Do the Pistons have 2 better scorers on their team, aside from Cade, than DeJounte Murray and Bogdan Bogdanovic?
And honestly, if you want to really get granular on this one, Trae Young is not even playing that well.
Yeah.
That man thinks that he can shoot better than he actually does. So I'm not saying that the Hawks are better without Trae Young. I'm just saying that they performed serviceably, and DeJounte Murray had one of his best games of the season. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and when is Bojan, Joe Harris? Could you give us an update? Monte Morris, like this team, and I know, we just talked about Bruce Irvin and the help he provides. Yeah, this Pistons team needs help. They do. Not saying they're going to fix all the issues, but those are 3 guys that can shoot 40 from 3. So can you give us a timeline, any updates on those guys?
Look, I saw Isaiah Livers. I went to shoot around yesterday. He was looking good. I posted some video to at Detroit Kool-Aid and at Woodward Sports as well on socials, and he's looking good. He's going to be a guy that I believe helps him a lot more than we think if he can stay healthy. Bojan Bogdanovic, he should be back no later than the first week in December, and Monte Morris is already playing 3-on-3 with the squad. We've been posting that video as well. They're going to get some help very soon, and Monty Williams talked about the fact that he has some tough decisions to make when they do get back. Obviously, Bojan needs to be in that starting lineup. I don't want to hear anything about, bring him off the bench or this, that, and the other. He needs to be in the starting lineup because he's the only other scorer on this team that we know can go out there, no matter what's going on, and get you 20 points easily. That has to happen because Cade Cunningham is getting absolutely blitzed. And Marvin Bagley talked about it. He said effectively that they failed Cade, that they're not helping him enough when the other teams and the opposing teams are doing this. He said that we now know that that's the game plan. So we all have to step up our games as well as Cade Cunningham. That means that he has to tighten the handle. He has to tighten up the passes. But in terms of help, they're going to get some help here over the next week or two with some of these guys coming back from injury.
And I want to ask you, too, for the trade deadline, what should Troy Weaver be thinking on how to improve this team? Because I think the patience thing, it only can last so long. And although I agree with you that last year Cade not being there made it hard to evaluate a roster without Cade. I mean, he's your franchise player. So now that he's here, you want time with a new head coach to kind of see, all right, who works and who doesn't around your franchise. But for you and Troy Weaver's timeline, this trade deadline, I think something has to be done. I don't know the extent of it, but now you're hearing more about guys, potential players that will be traded, a Zach LaVine, a Brandon Ingram, maybe even a Jeremy Grant, to your point, who a lot of Pistons fans did not like, and now looking on the other way like, maybe we could use Jeremy Grant. But your thoughts on the trade deadline and maybe the urgency that Troy Weaver has to have this trade deadline? Because I'm done looking at Tankathon. I'm done looking at the draft. No more draft. We're done.
This is the thing, and I told you this nuance this morning, and again, I know people do not want to hear it, but if you're a GM of a squad that looks this way, you have to have every single shot at every asset that you can have. You cannot trade back-to-back first-round picks in the NBA anymore. If the Pistons keep this first-round draft pick, and it's a decent first-round draft pick this season, they can trade this year's, not next year's, but the years after. If they're going to make a huge jump, honestly, it's going to be in the offseason. That's where it's going to be, where you can trade a couple draft picks with nominal or minimal impact to your young core. If they trade at the trade deadline right now and they get a piece of impact, they cannot trade that draft pick right now. They just can't because it has not conveyed to them yet, which means you're also talking about busting up that young core. That's something that people have to think about. You have to. For them to be able to go out there and grab a Brandon Ingram or Zach LaVine, you're talking about seriously maybe people like Sasser and Ivy or Stewart or multiple of them on the way out, as well as getting rid of some of your bigger pieces, your veteran pieces, because they make the money. Because Bojan's going to have to be included in any trade deadline deal. That's just the truth.
Right.
So when you start getting into saying they got to make something happen at the deadline, this is why I believe Troy Weaver said he's going to make his splash by next summer. Because just from a logistical standpoint, when you're just looking cap and you're not looking with emotions of this team has to do something right now, they don't really have the means to do that without messing up their young core right now as well.
Yeah, no question. I appreciate you joining Kool-Aid. Honestly, it's relieving because we get to talk about this, and again, you understand the urgency the Pistons fans have. Like, I get the frustrations, and the Pistons know the frustrations. They understand. It's not like Troy Weaver sitting there going, "Oh, we lost another one. Cool." Like, they understand the urgency, so I appreciate you.
They expected better.
They do. They did. So I appreciate you joining. You can find Kool-Aid, all his articles, woodwardsports.com. You can catch his content at Woodward Pistons, and of course follow him on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Detroit Kool-Aid on X. Check out all his Pistons coverage. Does a great job. Appreciate you, Brandon, a ton, man.
Appreciate you all.
Awesome. All right, let's go to break. When we come back, we'll get into more of Aaron Glenn and this defense. We kind of talked about Bruce Irvin, but I want to ask a question. You concerned about this defense when they face elite quarterbacks? We'll have that conversation, what needs to change, or maybe you have confidence in them moving forward. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Planet Fitness, because, guys, that's where I go to relieve all my stress and frustrations from watching the Detroit Pistons. I go over to Planet Fitness to Judge and Free Zone. I don't get judged for being a Pistons fan. I go in there and I work off the stress. At Planet Fitness, they got a squeaky clean gym.
Highlights while you work out.
Well, let's not go too far, all right? You get all that for just $10 a month. All the benefits Planet Fitness offers. No matter where you are, there's a Planet Fitness close by. There are more than 50 in Metro Detroit, thousands more throughout the world. Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
Where's the most convenient place to get that big fitness energy? It's Planet Fitness. Join today for just $1 down, $10 a month. With over 2,400 locations and equipment for every workout, you can get in, get energized, and get going. And with free fitness training and most clubs open 24 hours, everyone belongs in the judgment-free zone. So join today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment, cancel anytime.
Burgers and chicken sandwiches are taking over at Big Boy. Try our new pretzel bacon cheeseburger. Turn up the heat with Bob's Hot Chicken Sandwich. Upgrade those regular fries with our chili cheese fries or loaded baked potato fries. Hit your sweet tooth with funnel cake fries or Reese's chocolate peanut butter thunder cake. Load up on all your favorites today at Big Boy.
Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle D. Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com. Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
For over 60 years, Fairway Packing Co. has provided Michigan's finest restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef, Wagyu beef, and dry-aged beef. Experience the Fairway difference for yourself today or order online at fairwaypacking.com. We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show. Thank you guys for tuning in, for joining the show. We appreciate you. We just got done talking to Detroit Kool-Aid, Brandon Dent, kind of recapping some of what's been happening with the Detroit Pistons. But now I want to go back to the Lions because we kind of talked about this a little earlier in the week. And it's mostly just the Lions and them facing elite quarterbacks in this defense entirely. And the Aaron Glenn stuff I want to bring up more so. And the question I have for everybody is, should we be worried? Should Lions fans be worried about this defense when it comes to facing elite quarterbacks? Or not even just elite, but guys that are good, we can even say. Because you look at the NFC, the top of the NFC, you're going to have to face a Jalen Hurts if you go deep in the postseason. Who has the best passer rating when trailing, by the way. just to add. You're going to have to face a Brock Purdy, who just came off 3 touchdown passes against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I think are tied second in the NFL in interceptions. So they can take the ball away. Brock Purdy played extremely well. You're going to have to face a Dak Prescott, which 50% of the time he plays well. So if you get the 50%, there's a chance he does play well. But there's a lot. It's not like there's no slouches at QB at the top of the NFC. A Geno Smith, who's had success against the Detroit Lions. Mostly Pete Carroll, but Geno's played decent. The question I have is, are you concerned about this defense? The only sample size we have is Kansas City against the Chiefs, which defense played well. But more so, you watch the game, Kadarius Toney dropping like 5 passes did not help Mahomes, and they only lost by 1. So, to me, it's still a win. I don't care how it happened. But if we're going to talk about it, it's not like Mahomes is, he's playing much differently now than he did week 1. You look at Justin Herbert. The defense couldn't get any pressure. They didn't have a single sack all game, and on top of that, they didn't really get much pressure besides Aiden Hutchinson. Then you bring up Lamar Jackson, and that isn't all in the defense, but the defense got torched as well, and they didn't get much pressure on Lamar Jackson. Is there a concern level for you, Sam, if we're talking about this team in terms of making a run in the playoffs?
As much as I would like to say no, there has to be, at least to some extent. And I'm not panicking or anything like that, but I gotta give you some numbers and some perspective just to show you why it can be a little bit concerning. Because the Detroit Lions, I know it's heavily inflated by some bad performances, but here's the reality. In a third of the games that the Lions have played, they've given up at least 37 points. I know one of them is one of those 6 points was on a pick 6, but still, that is not, to me, a lot of people, I think, excuse that away as, oh, it's the NFL. But giving up 37 points in a third of your games, I think, is a little bit more than it just being the NFL. I think it's a little bit of a problem. And the Lions currently, as we stand right now, are 21st in the NFL in scoring defense, which is, I think, a little bit lower than we Lions fans would like it to be. I was calling it for, at the absolute worst, to be in the top 20, and obviously if the defense was fully healthy, I was thinking top 15, maybe even top 10, but right now they're actually outside the top 20, and the only contending team that is lower than the Lions right now when it comes to scoring defense is the Dolphins, who there's concerns about them as well. And the Lions are also 20th in the NFL in passing yards allowed per game, but if you want to feel better about that, they actually are better than that, than the Philadelphia Eagles, who are the one of, I would say, not the consensus number 1 team in the NFL, but they do have the best record in the NFL, and they're defending NFC champions. And also, when it comes to the Lions and good quarterbacks, this season, Geno Smith, he's not quite the same quarterback that he was last year, but he was against the Lions, because the Lions gave up when they faced the Seahawks. Geno Smith's season high in passer rating, QBR, it was tied for his most touchdown passes in a game, and it was tied for the most points the Seahawks have scored in a game. Against Lamar Jackson basically built his MVP case at the time on the game that he had against the Lions. He had his season high in touchdown passes, rating, QBR, and the Ravens' season high in points. And even in the last game against the Chargers, Justin Herbert had his season high in touchdown passes, 115 passer rating, and 83.6 QBR, and the Chargers set their season high in points. So the reality is, and I really don't want to frame it this way because people aren't going to like it, the Lions have had 6 really good defensive performances against 5 lower-level quarterbacks and Patrick Mahomes. And the Patrick Mahomes thing, I know people think that I'm asterisk guy. I'm not. It's still a very, very impressive win and a very, very impressive performance. But the Lions have had some clunkers against better teams and better quarterbacks. That's just the reality. Do I think their offense is good enough to overcome that in most situations? Absolutely. But you can't say that you're not at all concerned about the defense, because I just gave you some numbers and some scenarios that are, I would say, less than appealing, less than advantageous.
Yeah, and we've seen this kind of story play out now through the tenure, not only with Dan, but you've had Ben, you've had Aaron Glenn. And the thing we thought would be different this year, and I get it, players aren't living up to expectations. Romeo Okwara has not been good. John Cominsky has not been the guy that people thought he'd be this year. Charles Harris has had inactives. Like, there's been a lot of disappointment on the defensive line, besides Aleem and, of course, Aiden Hutchinson. And losing James Houston was detrimental. I understand that. And he's a big part of at least the lack of QB pressures. So I understand that. But, Lucas, my concern is, the storyline last year was the offense had to be perfect for the most part. You can't turn the ball over, and you'd win some games. We thought that'd be different, though, and it has been. But when you have games against Jordan Love, Desmond Ridder, Bryce Young, and by the way, you play who's on your schedule. I'm not even trying to go there, but I'm just giving you the data. And then you face a Herbert, and you saw how he looked. Sam just went through it, and how well he played. You go through the Ravens game and how well Lamar played, by far his best season or his best game of the entire season. That is concerning. That, it feels like to me, we'll see if the defense can be turned around once you get C.J. Gardner-Johnson back, once you get James Houston back, and maybe they will be turned around. But it feels like the offense has to carry this team. Like you cannot. The room for error is very small. You can't make mistakes if you're the offense.
Yeah,
a lot of pressure on Jared Goff.
You can't, and it's not even so much the elite quarterbacks that worry me, because at some point in the NFL during the season, you're going to play elite quarterbacks. The teams that scare me are those elite quarterbacks with elite weapons on the outside that have more than one of them. Because we saw Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen. And even you can go back to Patrick Mahomes when he really didn't have much out there, and Pacheco couldn't run the ball either. When they play elite quarterbacks that really don't have the supreme talent around them, I have some confidence just because of our offense and the offensive line's ability to control the clock, and the Lions can still have a leading time of possession. But when you talk about the Jalen Hurts who have Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and Dallas Goedert on the inside, that scares me because they also have a good line in front of them where Jalen Hurts could potentially have all day, and if you have those two Pro Bowl level wide receivers cut through the defense, at this point with the Lions, I don't have confidence with them. And that's okay to say because I think in a year or two, that's what they address, and that's where as Lions fans we're going to have more confidence. But right now with this team, there's no reason not to have confidence in this offense because it's humming. It showed you consistency for the last 10 weeks. But when it comes to the defense, that's where the major inconsistency has been in my opinion. And when you play those elite teams, that's when your weaknesses, they get exposed, and that's okay at this point. The Lions are in a very good place right now, but they're not at the top of their game. They're not at the top of where they will be, I should say.
In this comment, too, I agree with it. Big M can't continue to go for it. Actually, no, I don't agree with it, and I'll tell you why. Big M can't continue to go for it on fourth downs because the defense is so pitiful. I would argue they do go for it on fourth downs because the defense is pitiful. Like, there's both sides of that because Big M, you remember the end of the game. What was the theme of the game? Who has the ball last? Why do you think that's an actual thing? Because they knew if Herbert got back on the field, he was going to score. So part of it, and you've noticed for a lot of this season, when they face the Falcons, when they face the Packers, when they face the Panthers, they don't have to go for it on fourth down. Okay, punt the ball. Jack Fox, Bryce Young, come on, let's go.
Because at the end of the day, this defense is good. It's not like this is a bad defense, but it doesn't have that upper end talent. That's why I get a little frustrated when people criticize Aaron Glenn so much after you're going up against an elite offense, an elite quarterback with an elite talent on the outside like Keenan Allen, and in the secondary, like what do the Lions have right now that's elite personnel wise outside of Aiden Hutchinson on the defense?
They just have guys. They have promising players, but no. CJ would be the guy that I think would be like, yeah, he's pretty elite, but he's not here.
Exactly, he's not here. James Houston, you could see him potentially being elite, but the Lions, for the most part, they don't have elite guys on the defense. They're going to be turning into elite guys, but it's a young defense that's still learning. And when you go up against veteran, elite players, they're going to expose that. And that's not Aaron Glenn's fault. That's just the way. When you have a better player, they're going to expose the weaker player, and that's what just happens sometimes. So I get that Aaron Glenn looks shaky at times, but it's like the games where this defense should be winning, they're going out and doing so. Like, I'm not going to be mad that they just let up 38 points against the Chargers with the guys that they have on the defense right now.
But would you have been mad if the Lions would have lost?
I would have been mad, but it's like you can't just blame it on Aaron Glenn strictly as a defensive coordinator. You know what I mean? Like, Aaron Glenn, especially that last half of the season, showed you like what he can do with lesser talent. Look at what he did with Alex Anzalone in this linebacking core. Look at what he did even last season with the defensive linemen. Even the guys in the secondary, like Jerry Jacobs. Who would have ever thought Jerry Jacobs would be playing this way? So you got to give credit where it's due. I'm not saying he's the guy, the best defensive coordinator, but people just get way too up in arms about Aaron Glenn too quickly, in my opinion.
I think his player development, at least especially in the secondary, I do. I appreciate he can develop players. But there's also the other part of it where his adjustments. Like that's my problem. Like after a bye week, Lucas, like we saw how Ben in the offense
that's
looked
exactly
after a
what
bye
I'm
week.
saying though. Like you want to make adjustments. So they were playing zone coverage and people were mad they were playing zone coverage. You want to go to man coverage and now you're gonna have Keenan Allen matched up on a weaker wide receiver when Keenan Allen's main strength is man-to-man coverage. Okay, you want to do him in zone coverage? That's what we ran against Seattle and people were pissed about that. The weakness of this team is at the cornerback position, especially with depth. You can't just be like, okay, zone's not working, let's go to man. If you run man every play against Keenan Allen, he is going to burn you. If you run zone, okay, now you're giving Justin Herbert the time for Keenan Allen to sit in these pockets. You just have to play what is going to win you that game and what is going to take those drives the longest. So that's why I'm saying, like, I understand it's like you want all these adjustments to be made, but sometimes these adjustments just don't make the most sense when you look at the personnel for the Lions and the Chargers in that example.
And that's fair. I think that's where we can all agree there. Is AG, I'm not even close to saying fire AG. It's disappointing. But, again, I'm more on the personnel. You guys know how I feel. I got a lot of flack for just simply saying I want more help on the defensive line. I wasn't coming after Aaron Glenn. I just think, there's DCs in this league, and you see San Francisco – seems like every defensive coordinator they just get head coaching jobs. And they're great DCs. I don't want to take away, but it helps when you're coaching the best defense in football. Like, sometimes the personnel makes the coordinator.
Sure.
So it's hard with the coordinator where they don't have the personnel, and then everyone wants that guy fired. I'm not going to go as far to say fire AG, but yeah, I think a lot of it is the injuries and the personnel he does not have, the lack thereof.
No, and I think most reasonable people are not saying fire Aaron Glenn. I do have a little bit of the problem, and I love this guy, but the easies of the world, that every single time the Lions have a bad defensive performance, it's just like blindly defend the Glenn. And I get it. And I get it. There are some things that you can defend Aaron Glenn on, but you also can't absolve him of everything. Was this all Aaron Glenn's fault? Absolutely not. Is this as talented of a defense as Philadelphia or San Francisco or even a Dallas or to some extent even Seattle when it comes to certain positions? No, but you also, as I said, in a third of the games the Lions have played, they've given up at least 37 points. That's not normal. I mean, that's not the end of the world because the Lions are still 7-2, obviously. But that's where I'm kind of like,
it's the weakness of this team, and that's fair to say. It's the weakness of the team.
Yeah, I mean, thank goodness they won. Because imagine the conversation if they did not win. Now we'd be having a different conversation about the defense.
And the amount of just weak-ass penalties that were being called in that game, too, did not help the Lions' case whatsoever.
No, it did.
There was
the Cam Sutton penalty was bogus.
Yes. So, and that whole last touchdown drive was bogus. A lot of them were. And then even that one in the end zone was a weak-ass a defensive pass interference that led to a touchdown, too.
Hockey Lord 52 Sam, I feel that Easy has to go to the extreme against the people that are saying fire most of the time.
And you know what? I actually understand that impulse. It's just that I think that Aaron Glenn deserves some criticism. But if you're saying fire him, that's where you're not helping anybody's cause, because it's not going to happen, because he's done, like I said, when the Lions have gone against teams that they're supposed to beat, and even against a team, regardless of who was not there for them that day, Travis Kelce and Chris Jones, that they weren't supposed to beat, the Aaron Glenn defense performed well. It was just those 3 games that you're concerned about. But one of the marks of a good team is when you have bad quarterbacks, when you have bad offenses, you crush them into oblivion, and they have. The Lions defense has when they face poorer and lesser opponents.
Yeah, and even this one, 2 comments. One, David Garcia, the way the offense was moving, no doubt they were going to lose. This comment, too, I want to get to. Andrew, yes, waiting for the penalty excuse. There it is.
No, wait. It's not an excuse. It's just bringing up a point of that made the defense look a lot worse, and those calls weren't getting called the other way either, so that does have some inclination of why the Chargers were getting down the field so much. Like, they literally had 8 and goal chances in the last drive. Like, the fact that the Lions kept the Chargers out at the 1-yard line for 7 plays, it gives me a little bit more confidence in what they were having when it goes down the field, that they can still bend and not break. But when you have 8 tries, that kills you, and they're going to score eventually. But that's why I'm saying, if you just pull away some of the things, it's not the sole reason, but it's truly something you can bring up and be like, yeah, that didn't really look too good for the defense either, but it's not like they got burnt.
Well, and you're allowed to bring that up because the Lions won. If they would have lost that game and we would have came on the next day, I don't even like to think about that, by the way, because it's a terrible hypothetical, and we were all just crying about the refs immediately, then you can make that comment. But it's a reason. It's one of the reasons why the Lions defense struggled and why the Chargers were able to stay in the game. It's not the reason. It's not even the biggest reason, but because the Lions won, you can look back at, maybe this defensive performance wasn't quite as bad as maybe you think. It wasn't great, but it wasn't fire AG worthy, obviously.
No, it was not. All right, let's go to break. When we come back, I want to bring up the Jared Goff, the Spotrac graphic they put out for maybe a proposed contract for Jared Goff, and I want you guys to react to it. I know they kind of talked about it yesterday, but of course we didn't get to it. Wasn't out. Now we're going to revisit it and kind of get our thoughts on it once again. But first, We got to hear about our friends from Swiss Insurance.
Of course. Do you have football on the brain? Of course you do. Fall ushers in college and professional football, and this year has been awesome. Fall is also a perfect time to shop your home and auto insurance. Shop it like a pro with Swiss Insurance. They cover Woodward Sports Network, and they should be covering you too. Ask for Mark at Swiss Insurance today at swissins.com or call 248-800-4177. Again, that is 248-800-4177, Swiss Insurance.
Come hang with the Woodward Sports Crew all throughout football season on Saturdays and Sundays to join our college football and Detroit Lions live watch parties.
Inside the 5, caught, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions!
With money on the line, featuring different special guests and surprises. Start times will vary depending on the game. Only on our Woodward Sports YouTube channel.
Stop searching for a vehicle and start finding one. Les Stanford Chevrolet Cadillac makes it easy. We harness the power of multiple dealerships and own the biggest selection of GM brands in the area to get you the car you need. With the Les Stanford Group, you'll have access to 4 different dealerships, providing you with more makes, more models, and more choices. We're connected to more than 1,000 vehicles. And with so many high-quality CPO vehicles available, you'll find new car quality at pre-owned prices. You can start and end your search at lesstanford.com today.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, 2 of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder.
Glorious! Just in time for football season, Glorious Cannabis is dropping their new ice water bubble hash infused pre-roll called Honolulu Blue. Smells so good, it's like the whiff of the first playoff win in 31 years. It's a gassy, aggressive strain named in honor of our Detroit football team. If you haven't had one of these ice water pre-rolls, you are definitely missing out. It is so smooth. Find them at a Dispo dispensary near you, which we will also be at on Friday, so you can pick up one there, or you can check them out online today at gloriouscana.com.
Glorious! Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Breaking news, Deshaun Watson will undergo season-ending shoulder surgery. He is out. So DTR, PJ Walker time, huh?
Well, there's the Browns' playoff hopes going down the drain.
Yeah, I don't know. Hey. They were winning games with PJ.
He was playing terrible.
They were winning.
Yeah, he goes 14 for 14 in the second half and then goes into surgery. Maybe you should injure his shoulder more often.
What the hell?
Played better with a messed up shoulder.
He probably got a shot in the locker room and then wasn't feeling it for a second. That was good.
Yeah, that's probably right, actually.
He got, in the first half, he got landed on real awkwardly. Like, when he threw the ball away, and it was probably then.
The fall of Deshaun Watson is one of the most interesting,
something.
the storylines probably ever. From a guy that was promising, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, to now just, it's a disaster in Cleveland. But regardless, another quarterback locally here is Jared Goff, and we're going to have that conversation. Spotrac came out with a graphic kind of with a proposed contract extension. I like this one. Jared Goff's new contract prediction, and Spotrac takes a lot of things into consideration, and they came up with this for Jared Goff proposal there. 5 years, $210 million, $168 million guaranteed. And that's about, what you'd say, about 40-ish million. So around a friendly number, a number that a lot of Lions fans were kind of talking, at least annually. I know people were big on the whole, I don't know about 50, but this is in the 40s. It's a 5-year deal. It's a longer deal. And that's probably the only thing I'm a little more iffy on is the length of the contract. But regardless, I don't mind it. If this was the contract that Jared Goff got at the end of the season, I'm cool with it, Sam Flannel.
I think he's done enough to get a contract like this. No doubt about it. Because as of right now, I think most of us agree that Jared Goff's deal is team friendly at this moment, especially with all of the rookie contracts. And the one right here, the 5 years for $210 million, it's going to be a little bit less team friendly, but the average annual value is only going to go up by about $10 million a year. And I'm not saying that I am like fully on gung-ho with like pay him $50 million a year. That's why I say specifically that contract. What I wanted him to do, and something that he has done and something that I think he will continue to do as the season goes on and hopefully in the playoffs, is I wanted him to validate what he did last year. And so far, he's basically picked up right where he left off, in a lot of ways has been even better. So at this point, 5 years, $210 million. it might actually be a bargain for what he would actually take or even get on the open market. I mean, am I crazy for that? 5 years, 210, and I'm like, of course.
Yeah, for how he's playing, you look at quarterbacks and annual contracts. I mean, you just watched Daniel Jones sign 4 for $160, and Jared is eons better than Daniel Jones. So you talk about value. This contract for Jared, I'm cool with it. He probably deserves more considering how he's playing. So I'll take the $42-ish million annually. I will take this contract. Now the question though, the question that does kind of come into play, and someone already brought this up. Let's see, Cobezilla, good contract, but what would you do with Hooker at that point? I think the Hooker thing's, if you sign him to this contract, that's over. Like the whole Hendon future quarterback thing, which kind of brings into perspective I don't want to call it a waste, but that 3rd round pick on Hooker, and if he never sees the field, to me that you drafted a backup quarterback at that point.
I mean, but in the 3rd round, getting a backup quarterback isn't the worst thing in the world when you look at the history. It's just I
guess for me, it's like, man, you look at recent history and that you've gotten a Derek Barnes, a Kirby Joseph, like that's kind of been 3rd round value. That's kind of where I think, and I like Hendon Hooker, but if you signed him to a 5-year deal, yeah, Hendon would be almost 30.
Yeah, I mean,
at that point,
both things can be true on this one. The Detroit Lions and the team building that Brad Holmes has done through the draft has been so spectacular. They could write, like, a book could be written on it. But this season's 3rd round draft picks, when it comes to them contributing this year, you got Broderick Martin and you got Hendon Hooker. It's kind of like, it's not the James Houston and Malcolm Rodriguez in the 6th round of last year, but at the end of the day, like I said, you can't complain if they're winning. And this contract, 5 years for $210, I believe, if I'm doing the math correctly, it is exactly $42 million a year average annual value. It seems like when you look at where Jared Goff is sort of ranks in quarterbacks in the NFL, it seems like a pretty good deal. It seems like one that I think could unite almost the entire fan base. It's not $50 million. It's not a bunch of guaranteed, Yeah,
100%. I mean, and by the way, I want to correct there. It wouldn't be Derek Barnes. It'd be Lee McNeil. So Lee McNeil and Kirby are both 3rd round picks. So that's where my head goes. It's like, damn, if Hendon never plays a snap. Although it's great because you have your franchise quarterback and you lock him up long term, and I'm cool with that because the way Jared Goff's playing, you could have him for another 10 years and playing at this type of level. But Lucas, the other part of it is, like, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's bad to say that pick, if you were to extend Jared for 5 years, it's a waste.
I mean, it's a
Unless
waste.
you flip him for what would you flip him for, though? Because no one really knows what he is.
Yeah, I mean, that's the risk you can take, and maybe you can sell to teams. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to be complaining about it too much because of Jared, which obviously is not happening. If Jared kind of had an off season, okay, now you have your future. And if Jared is playing good, well, there's your future right there. And for this deal, I would absolutely do it because, in my opinion, what would be the annual budget for that? What did they say?
$42 million.
So $42 million. Even if Jared were to fall off after Ben Johnson leaves, in 2 years, $42 million for a quarterback is going to be, give me that right now because the market's about to be jumped again. Whoever wants to get signed next is going to want $50 million a year, $60 million a year. It's going to keep going up. In 2 years, this contract will be very team friendly. So if Jared's playing great. Now you can add pieces a little bit more than if you were going to want to do it next year if he does even better. And you can still, and if he falls off a cliff somehow, knock on wood, you can move off of him. I don't think this is a bad deal whatsoever. I'm very much in the re-sign Jared Goff camp just because the chemistry he has with him. This team and these coaches obviously trust Jared Goff. So when you have something good for you, I don't see a reason to break it up. Like, there's no reason to. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and again, if people, because people are, Roman says, it's not a waste, OMG. And Jake says, security isn't a waste. Never know when you're going to need your backup. Yeah, I get that. But my point is, like, I don't know.
It could be worse.
Yes.
It could be way worse. Like,
it could be. And again, I like Hendon as a prospect. I've always liked Hendon. So it has nothing to do with how I feel about Hendon. It's just like, if you lock Jared Goff up, which, by the way, at $42 million annually, roughly, you got to lock him up for long term because that contract's going to look even better as the years go on. Like right now in the NFL, you look at top quarterbacks and what they are in terms of the AAV. Joe Burrow at 55, Herbert at 52.5, Lamar at 52, Jalen Hurts at 51, Russell Wilson at 48, Kyler Murray at 46, Deshaun Watson at 46, Mahomes, who he takes pay cuts, he's at 45. And then you have Josh Allen at 42 and Daniel Jones at 40. So that would put Jared roughly right between Allen and Daniel Jones. And then you have Stafford and, of course, Dak Prescott. So, yeah, I think that's perfect.
Yeah, and it's just back on the Hooker thing. Like, I don't think it's a waste either because God forbid Jared Goff goes down. Now, especially like next year, if it were to happen, Hendon Hooker's a capable guy. He has a capable NFL arm, and he's going to completely change the game plan for the defense side of the ball. So it could end up being a valuable pick, even if it's for a season. I don't look at Hendon as a wasted pick by any means.
No, yeah, I mean, I guess he'd be a backup, and maybe if, like you said, if there's a game where Goff goes down, Hendon steps in and plays really well, his stock increases. So there's that. But I'm just at this point. Honolulu Blues Party says, Jeff, why do you hate Hendon? As a joke. Yeah, I definitely do not hate Hendon. Now, it was a great pick for the value, and I think at this point, you had to draft him because you didn't know Jared would play this well again. So I get the philosophy there for Brad Holmes, but it is a good thing he's playing well. JB, what do you think of the contract and the 5-year deal that Spotrac kind of cooked up for Jared Goff? You like it?
I mean, it's not bad. It's not terrible. Obviously, you would still want to see what you have in Hendon Hooker as of right now, and I think it's probably easier to sign Jared Goff now, re-sign him now, rather than wait until later on when the Lions are in the playoffs, and as far as they will get in the playoffs as well too, because you know he's going to ask for a little bit more. But as you said, Jeff, with seeing Joe Burrow with $55 million annually, would he be willing to take less, even though he's kind of doing a lot more and better than Joe Burrow? That's the real question.
I wish I could be a fly on the wall with these negotiations, because JB, I'm curious with that too. Like, Jared seems like a guy who would take less, especially to sacrifice for the team to win more.
Yeah.
But then there's that argument, to your point, JB, where he has every right to be selfish, and he could be like, well, I've played at a top 6 level the last 2 years, so, give me my money.
He puts his nuts on the table.
Yeah, like, and I wouldn't hate him for that. I mean, you could go in there and be like, well, I'm better than Kyler Murray. I'm better than Daniel Jones. Like, I should be paid significantly more than those guys. And what are you supposed to say to that?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm curious what Jared's approach would be. I would think that he would take less, knowing that if he sacrifices, he can keep this roster intact, and therefore they could be a contender for a longer period of time. Jared knows that. He was in L.A., and they went to a Super Bowl when he was on his rookie contract, so he understands that. And again, he's made a lot of money in his career so far, so I'm curious kind of his thought process on that. I think he would take less. I do.
He's like, to your point, you'd like to think that, but it's sometimes like maybe Jared's like the guy where he's real cool, but then when he's not, there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
Like, he's cool, but he's gonna do all these things for him, not make a lot of noise. But when it's time to make some noise, he might be like, all right, bring me my money. Tell him to bring me my money.
Yeah,
he might pull one of those.
He might be serious about his chicken. He might want to make some $50 million annual contract. But
Yeah.
who knows?
I'm sure Christian Harper makes a lot of money.
That's fair.
It's true. Maybe that's why Brady was taking all those pay cuts, because he knew at the time wifey was making more money than him. That's not a knock. She just made a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
So maybe chance there. Doubt it.
Yeah.
Doubt it.
And
there's some hope.
And Detroit's not expensive as LA.
That is true. This is true.
Listen, you can afford a lot more here than you would in that market. But regardless, let's go to break. When we come back, we'll get into some of the Michigan stuff, the J.J. McCarthy storyline. I want Sam to break down what he saw on Saturday. I watched the game, watched it with Lucas and Booner. Booner was freaking out during the game. Michigan fan, very fine Michigan man. And we'll talk about J.J., Penn State, Jim Harbaugh's suspension, and much more. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at Big Boy, because, guys, wintertime in Detroit is always better with comfort foods from Big Boy. How about breakfast? They got it. The stuffed potato pancakes are back, the classic lumberjack, Santa Fe Garden, and the apple pie hotcakes that are too good to miss. Top it all off with their new gingerbread shake for dessert, and stop by your local Big Boy today.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel. Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, two of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder.
Let's talk about Outdoor Equipment Co., official equipment provider of Woodward Sports. Michigan-grown, family-owned, bad boy mowers, tractors, steel handhelds, and even weed whippers, Liberty trailers, Generac generators, Snow X plows, and salters. Outdoor Equipment Co. has it all. Buy it, rent it, 0% financing, delivery to your doorstep. Visit their website at OutdoorEquipCo.com.
We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. If you could do us a favor, we're only 3 away from 150 on the stream likewise. So if you guys could hit that like button for us, it does help the stream, the show, and it helps the algorithm to kind of push the show out there. So again, we appreciate you. Helps the network as well. Let's get into Michigan. We've been pushing it off because we had a lot of Lions to get to, of course, but today's the day, Sam. It's Wednesday. Let's get into it. Your reaction from over the weekend from the Michigan game, and then we'll get into JJ, but just your thoughts on that big win over there against Penn State.
I think for a lot of Michigan fans, and I think for even the players, and definitely for Sharon Moore, who showed it at the end, I would describe that win for Michigan at Penn State. Thank you, JB.
JB, don't feel his ego.
Play me the sweet music.
Oh my God, dude. Okay, all right.
It's the calmest Flannel's ever been doing this song. You're Connor Stallion at home. Don't act like you're not.
Yeah.
Oh no! When Blake Corum hit that touchdown to make it 24-9 after James Franklin missed on 4th and 6 from their own 30, I screamed like a fucking demon. I think I scared my wife. I 100% did. But yeah,
Jake was scared.
Oh, Jake was definitely scared. I feel bad. I don't want to scare poor Jakey. But you know what? It's okay because it is Michigan football time, and that's just how I'm going to be from time to time. And I'm sure Booner was the exact same way. Like I said, cathartic. Because there has been a lot of noise surrounding the program, whether they deserve it or not, some issues with the suspension and whatnot, due process, all of that. It's been quite a whirlwind. So to see them put all of that aside, even with their coach being suspended on the plane, to go in and play Penn State on the road and beat them was one of the most satisfying wins as a fan that I've ever experienced. I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but it was just given all the circumstances, because now, this year, nobody can now say that Michigan hasn't played anybody. Nobody can say that Michigan has their signs or anything like that. They just went into Penn State and they beat their ass. And I'm not saying that Michigan played a perfect game or anything like that, but you know what? Let me ask you this, Michigan fans, and even Michigan skeptics. If you were
listen in
before this game, how would you have felt going at Penn State, one of the top rush defenses in college football, and Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards would both have their best games of the season on the exact same day? You would feel pretty damn good. How would you feel if you held this Penn State offense, which does have some talented pieces, to just 15 points? You would feel pretty damn good. And you know what? I did feel very damn good, because now I am 100% convinced. Hey, now, extreme close-up right now. You know what? It was a hell of a win, and now they just have to go out and finish it the rest of the year. And they did what they had to do. I mean, that's pretty much all there is to it.
Yeah, whatever coping mechanism you have. Just well, Max Mayer says JJ had fewer passing completions than MSU's quarterback. I guess they have a first-round pick too.
Okay, that's obviously like a dumb thing to say, but
they
what?
don't trust JJ in big games, Flannel.
You know
they just don't.
You know
don't.
You know what, Michigan fans? I urge all of you, just like me, to rise above all of the noise, because we don't have to justify anything, us Michigan fans, because you know what? Michigan did what they had to do. The goal of natty or bust is still right on the table. Yeah, JJ's out of the Heisman race, and I would have liked to have seen him get a touchdown pass in the last couple of games. I would have liked to have seen him stay in the race, but
I think everybody would, including him.
That's fine, but the national championship is still the top goal, and they are still well alive for it. I mean, if they run the table, they might even end up getting the 1 seed. They might.
So if JJ McCarthy can we put JJ McCarthy in that winner category yet? He's just a winner.
I mean, okay.
Jesus.
I I don't really subscribe to the whole like winner or loser stuff. I think football is a team game. They didn't win this game because of J.J. McCarthy. Although, to be fair, J.J. McCarthy did make some big runs. Did have a couple of big runs, but still, it was more off the back of Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, that defense, and of course the fact that Penn State had James Franklin as their coach, who, by the way, had 3 just egregious in-game coaching decisions. I mean, when Michigan went ahead 14-3, and Penn State, to their credit, actually went right down the field and scored a touchdown. Why are you going for 2? That just shows that you're coaching scared. You're just trying to chase those points. 14-9, and then after it was 17-9, and to be fair, Michigan's offense didn't really do a whole lot either. It was just back and forth. When the game was still in Penn State's hands, when it was kind of flowing correctly, I would say, according to Penn State, they go for it on 4th and 6. Drew Aller throws it to nowhere, and on the very next play, Blake Corum runs in for a 30-yard touchdown, and it's over. Or so you thought. Penn State actually came back to life, scored a touchdown to make it 24-15, and then when I saw the offense come out, no, actually the first thing I saw was James Franklin's stupid face do like 2 or whatever, and I'm just like, are they going for 2?
Yeah,
I'm like, are they going for 2? And then I saw like the swinging gate formation. I'm like, and then they missed it.
Horrendous play call too.
And then they missed it, and I'm like, thank you for saving the last of my nervous moments, because if they just go for 1, I think they have 2 timeouts left. They would have probably onside kicked, but you don't even really have to, and you probably get the ball back. But all around, just a good win at a top 10 team on the road.
Okay. Yeah. Good win. Those just gritty Penn State.
Hey.
That gritty, coached by James Franklin. Now, my question to you would be, and I put the poll in the chat, is J.J. McCarthy a first-round pick? And this is the reason why I tease you a little bit, Sam Flannel, but I actually genuinely am asking. And I get the path to victory was in the trenches. They
Sure.
ran all over Penn State. I get that, but it is confusing. Maybe it's because Sherrone Moore was the head coach, and you know where he comes from, what he believes in, which is, the physicality, running the football. I get all of that. But J.J. McCarthy, and he's had some big games, but this was the first big game you guys have had. And of course, you have Ohio State, so there's still a story left to be written. But is it fair to wonder, Penn State, win's a win, you could say whatever you want, but Penn State's worse against the pass. They're actually one of the better run defenses in the country. But J.J., they just said, hey, just hand the ball off, JJ. They ran like 15, 16 straight times. Is it fair to question maybe in big games, Michigan's a little hesitant to let JJ
air that bitch out?
All right, well, not that they have to because it's not Michigan, but do you get what I'm saying? Is this the path to victory if you're going to win a natty?
If you're
60 yards a game.
If you're an outside observer, I can't fault you for it. I will give you that. I'm not just going to jump down your guys' throat. And you see 7 for 8, 60 yards. I don't pause. If you see 7 for 8, 60 yards, you kind of think, what the hell is going on? But to be fair, J.J. McCarthy last year at Ohio State in a very, very big game and one of the biggest in school history up to that point, threw for 3 touchdown passes and ran for 1.
But defensively, you would agree they're not Penn State, Ohio State.
Okay, that's fine, but you're acting like J.J. McCarthy can't play big games. He played a big game, and he played very, very well.
I mean, I watched him in one specific game in the postseason. But yeah, the Ohio State game, that is fair. He did light them up.
And J.J. McCarthy did put them in a hole, but he did do a lot to bring them back. They still led the offense to 45 points. It's not like they wilted at that. But I guess my response to that was, one, the Michigan offensive line really struggled to block guys like Chop Robinson and Danny Dennis Sutton because they were getting after J.J. McCarthy. And at some point, I think if you're Sherrone Moore and you see that it's not like Michigan ran the ball all down their throats. It was inflated by some big plays. They were able to get a 14-3 lead basically off the backs of the run game. Blake Corum hit a long run, and then they got it to the red zone. He scored. Donovan Edwards hit a long one. At some point, I think Sherrone Moore decided that I'm going to run the game right and let James Franklin make a mistake and play it safe, because Sherrone Moore did not want to be the guy that screwed this thing up, because that is a pressure cooker.
That is true.
That is a big-time pressure cooker, and they knew that the defense could stop Penn State. They knew that James Franklin would make some bad decisions, and all Michigan really had to do was hold serve. I think if Michigan would have struggled more to run the ball, and JJ would have had to air it out, they would have had no choice. But The reality is I don't think Michigan as a whole, I don't think J.J. McCarthy, I don't think Sharon Moore, I don't think Jim Harbaugh is really worried about style points. We'll see.
I agree.
We'll see.
A win's a win.
We'll see what J.J.
I'm just asking. That's all.
We'll see against Ohio State if J.J. McCarthy, and I'm not calling for this, I'm knocking on wood, if he performs less than optimal and any of the big games coming up and they lose, I'll say that maybe that 7 for 8 was a big deal. I think it's too early to tell whether that's a big deal or not. Let's see how they bounce back.
Yeah, and you know me. And listen,
Yes.
this is where me and Neil disagree too, because Neil would give you flack about JJ being in the Heisman conversation. I did think at one point he was. That is over. We agreed there. And shout out to Booner for cashing out that Heisman bet before these last couple of games. He cashed out after MSU, so he made some money there. All I'm asking is if you're looking at the postseason and going forward, just the JJ stuff, which that stuff will handle itself. If he comes out and plays really well against Ohio State, and the completion percentage is great. I mean, even against Penn State, I can't really argue what he did. At least 7 for 8, cool, 60 yards.
I mean, I'm not going to.
It wasn't the game plan. Their game plan was to run all over Penn State against a good run defense. They said, okay, we'll see about that, and they did it successfully. So a win's a win. This is where me and you disagree. I just don't think JJ's the only reason he would be a first round pick, to your point, we've had this discussion, is because of upside. Okay, his arm, I get all of that, the mobility, but if we're talking just resume, to me, he's a second round pick, which isn't a knock. We just disagree there.
Well, but he's got talent. He's got the arm, the accuracy, the mobility.
I'm not going to argue he's not talented.
Yeah.
And I think because of the fifth-year option, there is a chance even more he would go in the first round.
Sure.
But I just don't think as of right now he's a first-round quarterback.
Right.
And that's not hating. It's just my belief.
And he's had big games. He's had very, very good games this year, last year. And the thing about a first-round quarterback is a lot of times you don't even have to have great games. You have to have great moments where you make NFL throws on the run, in the pocket. And J.J. McCarthy has had plenty of highlights this season, particularly even against Michigan State or even some of the earlier games, or even you look at last year. They didn't really throw the ball very much versus Penn State, but he did make a good throw on the run. With J.J. McCarthy, it's more about the tools and the fact that he has been, for the most part in his career, very efficient. And in one of the big games that he did play in, he played very, very well. I still think, even though technically this year's Michigan State game was better, last year's game at Columbus was his shining moment.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to bring up the run game in that game, Donovan Edwards was the closer. J.J. McCarthy accounted for 4 touchdown passes, and then Donovan Edwards had 2 70-plus yard touchdown runs. So I think he has shown enough to be a first-round pick. And for anybody who wants to discount Penn State, I get it at this point because of James Franklin, but when you see the first round of the next couple NFL drafts, you're going to be seeing a lot of Penn State players. I will just say that.
That is true.
Right now, Penn State's projected to have 3. Georgia had 3 last year. And when you look at the 2025 big board, 5 Penn State players are in the top 32. That can obviously change and everything, but still, I think this win over Penn State, when you look at the NFL drafts coming up, will age even better.
And there's a lot of teams this year that need a quarterback, so you have that going against your favor. I mean,
Yes.
even in the top 10, there's a handful of teams. And
Sure.
Matt says upside is literally everything you want in the first round.
Yes.
Arm accuracy, decision-making, mobility. Hoofhearted says NFL GMs don't decide what players did. They decide on what players think or what they think they can make of them.
Sure.
Which is fair. All right, let's go to break. We come back. We'll bring that Justin Fields thing up because let's have that conversation. He is coming back, expected to, against the Detroit Lions. We'll have that conversation and more. But first, speaking of this Michigan defense and that Penn State defense, give us a great defense, Sam Flannel, Guardian Alarm.
Absolutely. Let Guardian Alarm offer you customized solutions from real experts. Our professional technicians take the time to recommend security and automation solutions specific to your needs. 24/7 professional monitoring. Call us anytime, day or night, and know that a Guardian team member will stay on the phone as long as needed. Technology backed by people. Your safety and security deserves technology that's been proven to work and people who have been proven to care. Call 1-800-STAY-OUT. That's 1-800-STAY-OUT. Guardian Alarm, your local security experts.
Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle D. Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate, along with special WSN guests, for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
Join Braylon Edwards and the Dispo Dispensary family at their Hazel Park location. A fine Michigan man, Braylon Edwards certainly is. Best receiver in school history. On Tuesday, November 21st, for their Thanksgiving turkey giveaway. Starting at noon, Dispo will be giving away Thanksgiving turkeys over the course of the day. All you have to do is purchase any product from Dispo Hazel Park on Thursday afternoon, and you'll receive your turkey available while supplies last. Dispo Hazel Park is located at 634 West 9 Mile Road in Hazel Park, Michigan. Pull up, re-up, and grab your bird for Thanksgiving dinner.
Wow, what a read. I love it. The graphic with Braylon is hilarious, too. I love that. I love that graphic.
Pull up, re-up, and grab your bird.
Yeah, that's quite a statement. Wow. Let's get into the field stuff. NFL.com wrote about it. Kevin Patra, I believe is how you pronounce his name, kind of wrote an article about Justin Fields coming back, and he had some interesting things to say in this article. He writes here, Fields missed the past 4 games with suffering a dislocated thumb in the Week 6 loss to Minnesota. Undrafted rookie Tyson Bagent took over last month, helping the Chicago Bears to a 2-2 record while getting the ball out quickly. Still, the operation lacked explosive plays with Field on the sidelines. This is my favorite part, too, hyping Fields up. Fields led the NFL with 120 passer rating in 3 games prior to his injury after generating a 67.7 passer rating in weeks 1 through 3, which is 31st in the NFL. Basically saying he got better as the season goes on. And he did. He had those back-to-back games where he threw 4 touchdown passes. I get all of that. But I think ideally, though, for Justin Fields coming, his first game back from injury will be against the Lions. Personally, I think that favors the Lions. Although he's explosive, he's an athlete, we know what Fields can do. I just think I'm not going to sit here and give you reasons why I'm scared of Justin Fields at this point in time.
I can't at this point. You know how high I was on him coming into the year. He did have those couple very, very good games in which he threw 4 touchdown passes in back-to-back games. You can't really discount that, but for almost the rest of the entirety of his NFL career, he has struggled to throw the football. And I'll tell you what, obviously the Lions pass rush has had some issues, especially against some of the better teams like the Chargers last week. I bet you that the Lions pass rush has a day against Justin Fields, because when it comes to Justin Fields, the difference between him and Tyson Bagent, or Bagent, however you want to say it, I'll say Bagent. Justin Fields holds onto the football a long time, all the time. I think that's a perfect day for Hutch to get him with even his pressures or his sacks, because he's gonna force Justin Fields into rolling out into maybe another guy. And also with Justin Fields this season, and I don't hate the Bears for doing it. I think that they're probably smart, and for Justin Fields for doing it. He's not running like he did last year. He's not the 1,000-yard rushing quarterback like he was last year. He only has 237 rushing yards in 6 games. So as of right now, I'm not worried about Justin Fields. I'm not saying that I'd be more worried about Tyson Bagent, but at the same time, I think they're very different quarterbacks, and I think there are actually some things about Tyson Bagent that could give the Lions even more trouble than Justin Fields. But the things that could give Justin Fields trouble are much, much better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's something about guys that just have dads that are just built different, like St. Brown's dad, John Brown, who's he's a scary human being. Tyson Bagent's dad, do you know about him? Arm wrestling champion. Yeah, this guy, whatever it is. I kind of like Tyson a little bit. I do. He's got some moxie to him. He's a good backup. He'd be a good backup.
No, he is.
Yeah, he's solid backup. But I put a poll in, which QB would you rather face, Tyson Bagent or Fields? It's close. It's almost 50-50 right now. And I think the article summarizes it very well when they say Tyson's a guy that can get the ball out quickly. He's not a guy that's going to, extend plays and try and make something out of nothing. He just goes on script. And I do think matchup-wise, you'd rather face Tyson, of course. You don't want someone like Fields and his ability, his home run hitting ability with his legs. I just think, Lucas, the first game back favors the Lions. Yeah. If he had a couple games to get going, He's been out for a couple weeks. His first game's against the Lions defense. I'm with Sam. I think this is a game for the defensive line to get right. I do believe that.
Yeah, Tyson, I think, actually did a really good job of being a game manager, not giving too many situations for the Bears to lose games, and their defense is slightly improved, so they somehow leaned on that Bears defense to win them games. But Justin Fields, especially in his first game back on the road, I think he's just going to – where Bagent's a game manager,
yeah.
Justin Fields creates plays for the defense to make. And I think first game back – which against a defense that's going to want to step up and show like, hey, we're not that defense you saw last week. They're going to be ready to play, and I think that's just Khalil Herbert's coming off IR, I believe, so they're going to try to get him implemented. I just think this is going to be like a tightening up game for the Bears, and they're just going to get ran through again.
Trisha Miller, let's play Fields and get some experience with a mobile quarterback. Need to prep for the playoffs. And Brian also says, when did Fields hit home runs? Did you watch last year's game at Chicago?
He's hit some home runs.
I think he had one run where Jeff Okudah was on his ass.
It was after Okudah's pick six.
Yes.
That's how Fields responded.
Yeah, with an 80-something yard run. So trust me.
And he was playing really well before he got hurt.
Yeah, he was throwing the football, which is something we have yet to see. Ransom says, I think Jeff and Sam blocked me. No, we didn't, Ransom. We appreciate your presence. I did not block you.
Jesus. I haven't blocked a soul.
Yeah, I've never blocked anybody in this chat. I do not do
Flannel
that.
hasn't even blocked Shad.
No, I've never blocked. I'll call him Shad. I would never block anybody.
Love Shad. Jesse says, do the Lions score on defense or special teams TD? I do.
They could this week.
I think defense is certainly in discussion, but I do think a special teams TD is coming.
They're due.
They're due.
Khalil's been so close so many times where it's just like, if you miss that one tackle, he's gone. It could be this week.
Yeah.
Brian Branch, big game this week, I think.
More likely, I would say the defensive touchdown, obviously. I think they have a chance. And to your point, Lucas, I think Justin Fields is kind of the guy you were describing, which he'll make plays, but sometimes he'll kind of force that hand and make it easy for the defense. He'll force it.
He's polarizing. He's either all the way hot or all the way cold, and I think this week he'll be all the way cold.
Remember that game last year at Ford Field?
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's be one of those where it's just the fact that he's on the road. Like, he knows what happens last year. I don't think he has much confidence in general right now. So now you go on the road against what could be the number one seed in the NFC if the Eagles drop one this week. I think it's a lot of pressure, and he's gonna crunch under pressure again, I think, and especially like. The Lions, especially with their safeties, are in a much better spot where they have a person that can actually spy Justin Fields. Like, you can put Brian Branch out there, you can put Tracy Walker. Both those guys weren't here when they played Justin Fields last year. Alex Anzalone, he looks a lot better. He's being more consistent in open field, so I'm confident in it for sure.
I'll tell you what. You know what I'm actually calling for? I'll call for it right now on Wednesday before the game. Aiden Hutchinson strip sack recovery. I think that's something that Justin Fields, I mean, you've seen it throughout his career. He does fumble the football a lot.
He does.
I think this is the game where he gets that, and maybe even a Aiden Hutchinson strip sack, somebody scoops it up and takes it for a touchdown. What if it's Aiden Hutchinson who strips it, scoops it, and scores? I can't even. My mind can't even process this right now. I'm having a hard time standing up. I'm moving the table at this point.
Yeah, we just came off a Michigan discussion. Now Aiden strip sack in recovery. Big Cuz in the chat. What a name, by the way. He says he hits no home runs. It doesn't count if it was on Okudah. That's fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
It's like a 60-plus yard rushing touchdown as a quarterback. That's a home run. Come on now.
He can. That is one thing. I will not deny what Fields can do with his legs. I will not. All right, let's go to break. When we come back, we'll get into what's trending with Lucas. But first, we got to hear about our friends from Dispo.
Dispo. Well, we
just did that one. We got Mark White.
Mark White.
Excuse me,
yes,
Mark White.
Yes. When buying or selling real estate, flexibility and control over the sales process is key. Sellers, how would you like the freedom of canceling your listing agreement at any time for any reason with no penalty? That is exactly what Mark White Associates offers. It's called a minute-by-minute listing agreement.
It says Dispo on the paper.
By Mark White and Associates. Try Mark White's risk-free minute-to-minute listing agreement today. Looking to buy or sell real estate? Visit markwhitesells.com or call 248-290-8242. markwhitesells.com, where flexibility meets success.
Come hang with the Woodward Sports Crew all throughout football season on Saturdays and Sundays. Join our college football and Detroit Lions live watch parties.
Inside the 5, caught, end zone, touchdown Detroit Lions!
With money on the line, featuring different special guests and surprises. Start times will vary depending on the game. Only on our Woodward Sports YouTube channel.
Come to Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, two of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Boner and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Boner and Broder.
Come to Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, where I get this A+ haircut, like all of you guys can get your A+ haircut as well for an award-winning haircut experience. Register to win a trip of your dreams and all expenses paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament. That's right, no expense spared for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. It's time. Check the clocks. Check the watches.
Check the dials.
We're chatting with Lucas. Lucas, what do you got for us?
All right. We wanted to show this one yesterday just because, or even Monday, just because it is coming off the victory. Brad Holmes, a man of the people. You see it every week, but here he is on the sidelines after the game against the Chargers.
Yeah, Brad! Yeah, Brad! Yeah, Brad! Yeah, Brad!
So Brad obviously loves the people, and another man that loves the people is Dan Campbell. When you see Brad Holmes like this, you know Dan Campbell's the same way. So another thing that I don't have a graphic for it, but people are saying and bringing Dan Campbell's name up with a Texas A&M job. And when I see things like that, it just makes it. I understand it's more money, but can we all rule out here? Dan Campbell, it's idiotic to bring him up in the Texas A&M head coaching job discussion.
If I really believed that Dan was a sellout and Dan was all for the money and maybe had an opportunity to coach college kids, I would be scared. I just think he's motivated by something else. I think he loves the NFL. I do. I think he loves coaching grown men, and he likes being a part of the Detroit Lions. I don't think he wants to go to college and take a bag. He could get paid probably double, if not maybe even triple what he's getting paid now annually, but I don't think he'll do that. I think that's just something they float around in the headlines because it is Texas A&M. It's where he went to school. But no, that is BS. But on the Brad Holmes stuff, that's the great thing about the NFL because it's a full circle moment for Brad. He gets to go back to SoFi Stadium. It's not the Rams, but the Chargers. And he gets a win. And I can't imagine any other GM for the Lions doing that in recent history. He's a man of the people, and he's a hell of a GM.
Oh, yeah.
Love Brad Holmes, man.
Well, and obviously Brad Holmes. It's amazing. Imagine if Bob Quinn tried to do that back in the day. The fans would be like, boo, go back. Basically. And with Brad Holmes, it's just like one big family. And everybody loves him, and as we all should because he's already the best GM in Lions history. When it comes to the Dan Campbell stuff, I got to ask this question. At some point, if you leave this situation, I'm not saying that Brad Holmes would. The Detroit Lions, regardless of the money situation, which is as on the up and up as any situation in the NFL right now, in terms of their present and future. Why the hell would you go to Texas A&M? Texas A&M, I mean, even for some of the good coaches during the good periods, Kevin Sumlin had a couple of good years. Johnny Manziel was there. What happened eventually? He got fired. Jimbo Fisher was a national championship winning coach at Florida State. He has some success in Texas A&M and then has a couple of down years and gets fired, even though he's making quite the bag. Texas A&M is just a average program. I mean, above average in terms of every program.
And they have resources.
But as far as the SEC.
Right, but they do have resources, but what have those resources gotten them?
Yeah, and that's the thing with Dan. I don't think Dan would want to go through that headache of dealing with donors and like there's a lot of things that go into being a college football coach. And the other part of it is, and this is a great point made by, I want to make sure I get the name correctly, Joe Westfall. He says, never leave a job you love. I have taken less money to stay somewhere where I love. And I think that's kind of Dan's thought process as this goes. I don't think he would take more money to do something just because of the money. Even though he isn't alone, it's his alma mater and all that. I get that, but no, there's no chance. And I think Dan, someone said in the comments, forgot who it is, but he already addressed it. He said no. That doesn't shock me. He's not leaving.
He is on track to becoming, and I know this
a legend.
Is, like maybe the best coach. Actually, if he stays on this trajectory, the best coach in Lions history, one of the biggest sports figure legends in Lions history if they could win a Super Bowl. And I think he would potentially go from that to being fired at Texas A&M in 4 years, because at that point, like it's the program, it's not him. He can coach. It's just Texas A&M is such a wild card.
No, I'm with you, but a guy that, speaking of Brad Holmes, and a guy that gets a lot of slander, J-Mo, and I don't stand for much J-Mo slander, but this right here deserves some slandering. This was his order yesterday at McDonald's, okay? And I'm not actually taking this seriously, because I saw people on social media, they're like, this is exactly why he weighs 160 pounds, whatever. Like, bro, this is just a gross meal. Relax. Don't overthink it. But this dude took a McDouble and piled on an Oreo McFlurry on top of it. This should not be tolerated at any level of sports, at any level of eatery, at any level of anything. Could you imagine putting that down? Once you crunch that burger, you put that top bun on top, you got the pickles, you got the ketchup, and you got the mustard, and not to mention that soggy-ass fucking bun that just turns into beef pulp under it. This is the most disgusting thing I've seen all week. J-Mo, you do you, but there's no way I'm eating that. There's no way.
Nasty.
When you guys see that, what do you think?
Well, Jake says it's the Ocho Cinco diet. You know what?
I don't even think Ocho would do that, man.
Hey,
Leave him. A McFlurry is solid.
Right.
A McDouble is great. Let separate rolls. Separate rolls.
You guys are gonna hate this.
Oh my god.
I know where you're going with this.
I kind of want to try it. I kind of want to try it.
No way.
Dude,
Yeah.
am I a sicko for that?
Yes, you are. I
just
get
want to try it.
like fries, even nuggets, like those can be. But bro, burger's a whole different animal. You're now incorporating like ketchup, your condiments. Like a pickle in your McFlurry, bro,
can we
with a
record
soggy
this?
ass bread on top of it. If you want to take a bite of it, that's fine. We can go down the street and you can try it.
No, we'll get it on video.
That's what I'm saying.
I'll make this and we'll get a video of it.
Don't knock it until you try it.
Am I crazy for this? Is anybody with me here? Is this
JB is?
I'm with you on it. Don't knock it until you try it, because as of lately, there's been a bunch of videos and TikToks and whatnot of people trying, experimenting with new foods combination, putting them together. So
it's America. That's every day.
I'm just saying, don't knock it until you try it.
Yeah, well, maybe if I was plastered, I'd enjoy it. Like if you're plastered or something. But even if you're completely sober, I would.
That would make, if I was drunk, that'd make me throw up. That would make me just instantly get up all the alcohol that I drink in the last 24 hours. That's just foul. I'm just flag
Sam,
on
what
the
do you
play
think?
unsportsmanlike conduct.
Sam, what do you think? Am I crazy for that?
This is indisputable proof that Jamison Williams is a bust. I'm kidding. I mean, not the 89 receiving yards in 5 games this season. Not the one catch last year for 41 yards. This.
Would you eat it?
I don't know. I might
clip that, JB, for sure.
Probably not.
Oh my god!
Maybe if he had a proper diet and was on the jugs machine more. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Would you? Well, when you first see it, would just right off the top of your head, you eating that or no?
It looked like.
Don't clip that, JB.
It looked like salad dressing at first, and I'm like, ugh. But then when I heard it was a McFlurry, I actually made it sound a little bit better. I probably wouldn't eat it though.
Okay.
Nobody says. Do not forget, Jeff said he would eat that.
You did.
And by the way, Ray Smith said, if I had the munchies. Yeah.
Dude, no, like that's what I'm saying. Like if I was like high or something, that's even more like, no, I don't want that. There's so many other things I could have in the world right now, besides a burger with ice cream in the middle of it. And it's a McDonald's burger too. Like I'm not saying McDonald's burger is bad, but you like, come on now.
See, Danny G's with me. Danny G says I'd try it. So thank you, Danny.
I'll get punched in the stomach by a UFC fighter before I try that.
Oh, that's a little expensive. Well, you already did it though.
That's what I'm saying. That's crossing a level.
If J-Mo is delivering blocks like he did on Sunday, eating that, I'm gonna have to indulge. Indulge.
Okay.
Not what?
You're no J-Mo, my friend. You're no J-Mo.
Hey, I just want to be great.
You weren't a 12th overall pick out of Bama.
Okay.
You're sitting right there.
Right where you belong.
But something that did surprise me though, so Russell Wilson did play better, but you know how like when you go back, the former Seahawks teammates that are like, yeah, Russ really wasn't that guy. Like Marvin Mims Jr., their rookie, After a win in Buffalo, this is what he had to say.
You're locked up. Nothing. 0 catches. 0 catches.
Hey, he don't throw it to me anyway.
Heard him. He said they're saying you're locked up in Denver. Free Denzel Mims, which I agree with, or Marvin Mims. I'm sorry. Marvin Mims is a stud wide receiver that has a lot of potential, and they're just not using him. And he's already, as a rookie, he's not happy with Russ, obviously. He's like, yeah, he doesn't throw it to me anyway. So do you think that has some cause for pause with your guys' Russell Wilson hype train?
And I do. I like Marvin Mims as well. He's from Oklahoma. He's a good receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a couple plays this year, a couple bombs that also kind of let him cook a little bit. No pun intended there. But I like Marvin. I just don't like when players say this because that's what fans do. They set you up for that. And he took the bait. Like, you go and take pictures with fans. You got cooked. You got locked up. Like, just, dude, you're making 10 times more than them. You're a professional athlete. Just walk away. Like, when you say things, and I'm just trying to compare it to like a Lions player. Like, if you saw, Josh Reynolds being like, and by the way, this is why they find the right person, because they would never do this. But hypothetically, yeah, they would be like, damn, dude, you took the bait. Just be like, hey, I know who I am. You guys know what I am. Like, but he comes right after Russell, which fine. I agree with him. But he fell for that bait. The fan set that man up, and kudos to the fan.
Yeah, and
getting that out of him.
Yeah, I do get a little bit irritated when it comes to. I mean, Marvin Mims, that's not the worst, but even ex-Seahawks teammates who are always dissing Russell Wilson, they're acting like Russell Wilson was one of the most important members of that period of success for the Seahawks. He is a Hall of Fame quarterback, a first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback. Come on, Lucas. Come on, Lucas. And he's also this season 18 touchdowns, 4 picks, and now all of a sudden they're 4-5.
Can we agree that Sean Payton, I don't want to say completely fixed him, but he looks better with Sean Payton?
Oh, yeah, that's fair to say. He looks better.
That's all.
Still
that's
a
all I
mid.
need. Yeah, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to say Russell Wilson's no Josh Dobbs. But
I would put Russ slightly ahead of Josh Dobbs.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Do you have that poll?
How's that for your narrative? Do you want me to give a poll update when we come back?
Yeah, let's get a poll. I mean, we're already at 9:56.
Shit.
We asked that question yesterday. Broncos, Vikings, and the people kind of answered. So
give you an update.
Okay. All right. We'll go to break, but first we got to hear about our friends from what? I guess at this point we'll do. Feldman. All right, let's do it. Feldman Chevrolet. 18 locations, guys. Feldman dealership. There's always one, especially in your backyard. Visit FeldmanAuto.com to find the locations nearest to you. You can catch us live from Feldman Chevrolet in Novi every other Monday doing live shows.
Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle D. Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
Where's the most convenient place to get that big fitness energy?
It's Planet Fitness.
Join today for just $1 down, $10 a month. With over 2,400 locations and equipment for every workout, you can get in, get energized, and get going. And with free fitness training and most clubs open 24 hours, everyone belongs in the judgment-free zone. So join today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment, cancel anytime.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, 2 of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder.
What happens when you when you run a great business for over 50 years? You expand and offer more products to more people. This is exactly what Les Stanford has been doing. By adding Les Stanford Buick GMC on Woodward Avenue just south of 9 Mile, check out Les Stanford in Dearborn today. Find the brand you want at lesstanford.com. All right, let's get to it. We'll kind of show the poll results, and then we'll answer a couple questions. We'll go a little over today because, I love doing this, so who cares? We'll go a little over. Other shows end right on the dot. Morning show, We'll go a couple.
We'll carry
minutes
it over.
Yeah, we'll always carry it. We're working
Neil
on
Rule's so elite. He can just go up there and do whatever show.
Oh, Neil would never. That clock hits 1. He ends the show.
He's out. He's out.
He would never do that. His agent wouldn't let him. But you have the poll?
Yeah, right here. So yesterday we kind of, not a heated debate. We got in a good debate, though. I was saying, and Flannel, you said Broncos as well, didn't you? You said Broncos would be a tougher home game than the Vikings?
Tougher? I don't want that
actually didn't answer. I didn't answer.
What? No, we were saying what would be the more difficult home game for the Detroit.
Okay, there you
Don't
go.
run.
No, I'm not running. I just don't want people to think me and you are actually, like, you think the Vikings would be like an insanely tough test. And we're not saying that.
No, which would be more difficult.
Yeah, there you go.
So, and then I put it
I think
up.
they beat both teams. I do.
Yeah, we both
regardless.
thought they would win. It would just be who's the bigger test.
Yeah.
Jeff said the Broncos, I said the Vikings, and after 23 hours of it being up, the Minnesota Vikings 70%, the Denver Broncos 30%. The Broncos, they look good right now, man. They're gonna return to earth. I can assure you of that.
Couldn't I say the same about the Vikings?
Yeah, but then when you go, okay, who's the more deep team? Who has the more talented roster overall, especially when Justin Jefferson will be back? And that's the answer. Divisional opponent. That's what I'm taking.
You see what Surtain did to Diggs?
Yeah, I'm not discrediting that, but he's not doing that to Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he's a better corner than Byron Murphy, but continue.
Well, you kind of like Byron Murphy after looking at I was going to say, you fell in love with Byron Murphy after looking at his...
Low-key, Byron, I didn't fall in love with him. I just think, I checked, I was like, man, he's not playing too bad. Byron Murphy's not. But, yeah, it is what it is. Okay, we'll see. This is a good debate. We're going to follow this up until both games. I think the Lions win both of them, but I just think the way the Broncos are playing, Maz was with me. I got Uncle Maz. I'm good.
Okay.
Screw that. Hey, the polls are rigged.
Polls are rigged. Polls are rigged. It's 2020 election.
Yeah, hey, the polls are rigged, and I'll stand by that. I will stand by that. But it was a good little debate. The people have chosen Lucas Klotz, though.
That's fair. The ball nowhere. As they should.
Yeah, the man who wants the second seat, or would prefer the second seat. No, not once. There you go. I changed it. We'll answer a couple questions here. ETN says, mailbag, what game are you looking forward to the most? Bengals versus Ravens or Eagles versus Chiefs? Also, how do you feel about Deshaun Watson's season-ending injury? I can't say I feel super bad for him. Yeah, I'm with you, ETN. But the game I'm looking forward to the most, Bengals, Ravens, Eagles, Chiefs. Well, personally, I'll go Eagles Chiefs, and I know, I know where you're going, but just because
lockdown Chiefs,
just because of the NFC, NFC picture there.
It has implications for the
Lions. But they're both going to be great games. They're both going to be great
games.
Do
the Bengals and the Ravens have any implications for the Lions? I think not. It's the only reason I'm more interested in the Chiefs and Eagles. The only reason.
Yeah. What about you, Lucas? What game you looking for?
I'm definitely going to be tuned into the Chiefs and Eagles more. Although for betting purposes, the legacy bet is going to be on the last dance bet will be on the Ravens and Bengals game, but the Eagles and Chiefs, no doubt.
This one I like too. This comment, let me find it. I just lost it. Basically was asking if J-Mo goes off in a playoff game, are we going to eat the J-Mo special?
I don't know.
That would be Edward O'Neal. The J-Mo special, the burger. If J-Mo goes off in a playoff game, you eating the J-Mo special.
No, I'll buy a J-Mo jersey. I'm not eating that, though. I'm not eating that. I'm sorry. I'm not.
All right.
I was thinking about that yesterday,
Sound scared a little bit.
Scared?
Yeah.
No, it's just something I'm not willing to like. That's just not on my radar. That's just no.
All right. Chuck Brewer, mailbag. Sam, why is PSU at home a quality win for OSU, but a road win for Michigan winning by more is not a quality win for Michigan?
Well, it's just a lot of the anti-Michigan people in the media, because people really were really being like, oh my God, this Ohio State team, they are tough, they are fine, they beat Penn State. But here's the reality. And this is my opinion. This Penn State team, you can rag on James Franklin, you can rag on their offense. They fired their offensive coordinator. It's a quality win for both teams because, like I said before, when you look at the next couple NFL drafts, it will be littered with Penn State players, almost to the level in terms of high-end draft picks that those great Georgia teams were. I promise you. So those Penn State wins are quality. They were just not a well-coached team, at least offensively and with James Franklin.
This question, and I'll get to it now, the away fan mailbag question for everybody in the studio. Who's the hockey team you like the least and why? Solid show, much love, gang. For me, it goes more so a player. I hate's a strong word, but I strongly dislike Sidney Crosby. I just think he's a douchebag. Sid the Kid, huh? No, he's a douchebag. So I guess you could say I don't like the Penguins, but it's more so I don't like Sidney Crosby. Team-wise, as a Detroit fan, the answer is pretty simple, who I don't like. And you guys know, we work with D-Max, so that hate has always been there. But player, I would say, default, it's Sidney Crosby. I just hate that man.
Is it bad that I like Sidney Crosby? He's one of the greats
ever.
Well,
you're more... Okay, see, this is where you go. And you're not, I guess, you're not... Well, why do you like him? Because he's good? I know you like talented guys.
He's one of
Aaron
the greatest
Rodgers, Dak
hockey
Prescott.
players who has ever lived.
Yeah,
I mean,
no one's denying that, but he's a
appreciate-
douchebag.
I can appreciate the talent. He's one of the greatest ever.
But would you agree he's a crybaby douchebag? Would you agree?
No. No.
Okay. All right, defend him then. All right.
Yeah.
Defend
why
him.
not? He's one of the-
I do hate the Boston Bruins too. That's a good one.
Yeah, I would say Bruins are mine.
I hate the Bruins too. That's a great one. And that's another one besides the Avalanche. Hate the Bruins. The away fan says, I hate the Penguins the most. Crying Crosby. There you go. And Lurch Molken 09 was rigged. Yeah. The away fan gets it. He does.
Yeah, that was a tough loss. That was
Yeah.
a tough loss. And I understand the Crosby hate. And at that time, I was obviously very, very upset. But I appreciate his talent and what he's brought to the game. That's all.
Jesse Adams, when you think of America, do you think of apple pie, baseball, 4th of July, freedom, and Michigan football? I mean, they are America's team now.
Absolutely. Of course. Of course those are the things I think
Not my
about.
America. I hate the America's team thing. Like, no, there's no America's team.
People in Washington right now are saying that Washington is.
There is no such thing as America's team. That is not a thing.
That's fair.
Because everybody has a different, especially with all the teams. There's no such thing.
Don't let Jerry Jones hear that.
That's not even a shot at Michigan.
Sure.
That kind of goes back to how I feel about Dallas. I think it's the dumbest thing ever when you say this team is America's team. That is the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah, it was like a branding thing in the 1970s with NFL films that they were like, "This is America's team." But to be fair, in the 70s with like Roger Staubach,
Yeah, they did have like a former. Was it the Vietnam War that he fought in?
Yeah,
They had a Vietnam War, like they had a former war vet at their quarterback.
Yeah.
Like I can get behind that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll respect that. I'll respect that. Let's see. Chuck Brewer says Jeff, Michigan grads are everywhere, so they have a better claim than the Cowboys. But it's agreed, it's dumb. I still would even get. I mean, again, and this isn't even me just messing with you, Sam.
Yeah,
I hate that the America's team thing. All right. We went overtime for you guys because we appreciate you. But we're out of here. Appreciate you. Don't forget rest of the programming on Woodward Sports. Big D Energy 11 to 1. Ermanni and Edwards with Maz 2 to 4. And then, of course, the heavyweights 5 to 7. And Woodward Nights close your night out with the boys 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. We thank you so much. The rest of the week, we'll be talking more Bears-Lions. We're going to start previewing that game. We got John Macaroon joining the show tomorrow. Can't wait. The Doc. Maybe bring us back down to earth a little bit and preview the game this weekend. So a lot of interesting, fun things planned for you guys. But until tomorrow, have a great day, everybody. Great Wednesday. We'll see you on Thursday.